your seat. Mr. Vice President, members of the panel, members of the Shadow Cabinet, Madam Chair of the meeting, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all to this People's House edition in the beautiful parish of St. Lucie, the most beautiful parish in Barbados, with the loveliest people. But we're here to do some serious business today. We're going to prosecute the government, the inept, uncaring BLP government. We're going to speak about where the money gone. People want to know where the 23 million gone and the Hope project and all the other quantumania that they're involved in. So we have a panel. We have Tyra Trotman. We have Mr. Maloney. We have Faith Graves. And we have the chair lady, sorry. But this evening, we're going to start with some fireworks. But before we do that, I was informed about the sudden passing of Mr. Evelyn Hines Snuffy. That was his name. An ardent supporter of the DLP. He used to live in KFL. So I just want you all to stand for one moment of silence while we honor this fallen comrade, Snuffy Hines. Thank you. You may have your seat. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hand over to the chair lady of the People's House. Let's give her a round of applause.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much. We are so happy to be here at St. Clement's Church Hall in St. Lucie this evening, hosted by the amazing St. Lucie branch. It is indeed, really and truthfully my pleasure. I love the fresh breeze in St. Lucie. It will lull me to sleep, but we are here for serious business, and we appreciate everyone here. This is the first time the People's House is in St. Lucie. The second time we're out of our usual studio at headquarters, George Street. And so we welcome our panel. And right now we have Miss Faith Graves, who is the Shadow Minister for Social Services. And as we would know, the last week, the social services has definitely gotten a lot of attention. They have certainly been in the media, and the Minister for People's Empowerment and Elder Affairs has certainly been busy in the media. But we know just because they're busy in the media, that doesn't mean they're busy doing work. And that is what is most important above any and everything else, doing the work of the people of Barbados. We also have with us our second vice president of the party, Mr. Walter Maloney, who is a man known across the labor relations space in Barbados for many years. And he comes with a load of knowledge and expertise and wisdom, and also very encouraging. So welcome, Walter, and thank you so much for joining us. And lastly, so far, we have fiery Miss Tyra Trotman, who is our shadow minister for youth, sports, and culture. And foremost, she is the chair of the Young Democrats. She is responsible for reviving the Young Democrats and making it a voice for the youth from the party. So thank you all for joining us. And while the rest of our panel makes their way to St. Clement's Church Hall, we will get started this evening as time keeps on going and doesn't stop for no one. So I will give Miss Faith Graves, who is also an attorney at law and very well known in St. Lucie, I am sure. Everybody knows the Graves name in St. Lucie. And so we will hand off to Faith, and she will give her remarks on social services, where we stand, the background, and where she thinks we need to go. And we will get, can we give her a round of applause, please?
Pleasant good evening to all. Everyone looks so lovely this evening. I thank you all for coming out and taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us here this evening to discuss what the chairman would have already said, very serious matters. Now, I grew up in Strawberry Road, Rob Hill, St. Lucie. That is where I originate from. And I grew up as a granny's girl. My grandmother, may the Lord rest her soul in peace, who passed away in June last year. She raised me from a mere, what she used to say, a wampum, preemie baby, to the woman that I am today. And when I look back at my upbringing, I am most grateful. And I start by saying that because I have a special interest and a special place in my heart when it comes to the elderly. I watched my grandmother from young being a vibrant, strong woman, outspoken, hardworking. And as she grew older, of course, the vicissitudes of life, caught up with her in terms of her old age and her mental challenges. Because she was diagnosed in her latter stages with Alzheimer's dementia. And it was quite a difficult experience for me, being her loving granddaughter, and for her children, who loved her and took care of her dearly. And I would imagine for her, being the person who lived, some days not knowing who was with her, not knowing where she was. I'm not going to get emotional and cry. But, that opened my eyes to the need in Barbados to really pay attention to the elderly and pay attention to how we interact with them, how we maintain and nourish them in their golden years. And again, my granny took me to church, coming up as a young lady. And there is a Bible verse in Leviticus 19:32 that says that we should stand up before the gray-headed and honor the face of the old man. And you shall fear your God. Yes, you shall fear your God. And God says, I am the Lord. And that is a verse that really resonates with me. Being the shadow minister of social development, because we cannot leave out our golden citizens. Yeah, we cannot be so caught up with life. You know, you have your family, yes, you have your job, but we always have to look back and honor those who would have helped us get where we are today. And I think that we as a Barbadian society, no, not I think, I know we as a Barbadian society, we are drastically aging. You've heard the many comments that we are an aging population. 1 in every 3 persons, I believe it would have been a couple of weeks ago when the Honorable Prime Minister spoke about aging. She said 1 in every 3 persons would be over the age of 65 in a couple years, yeah? And too many of our golden citizens, I call them golden citizens because these are the persons who would have toiled the lands of Barbados, who would have built the countries with their blood and their sweat and their tears, who would have contributed, I am sure, to each and every one of you today, being the man or the woman that you are, yeah? And these are the persons who have laid that foundation for us to stand on, and now it is time for us to show them that care and to show them that respect and to take care of them in their golden years. And there are too many persons we see abandoned in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. There are too many elderly persons we see lonely at home, not having anyone, you know, to take care of them or to check in on them, and they're left to their own devices. They have to cook for themselves. Sometimes they can't see well. Sometimes they can't walk well. They're not in the best of health. Yes, we do have the alternative care program where the government has certain institutions that take care of the elderly. But one thing I note is that the care program is severely overburdened and understaffed. While it is a well-intentioned program and I applaud the program, they do need a lot of help in terms of staffing, trained staff, in terms of aid financially to help with the elderly whom they take care of. We have the geriatric hospital that is currently being built, and I applaud that as well. But we need more space, we need more institutions that can help those persons who are unable to afford to go into private care homes. One of the things I would have noted is that the care of the elderly is a very expensive venture, especially when you're dealing with elderly who have mental challenges, as I said, dementia. Some have neurocognitive disorders. Some may not be able to walk or to deal with their hygiene themselves or to cook, etc. And when I remember when we were taking care of our grandmother, even to buy adult Pampers, when I realized the cost of a pack of Pampers, I was like, wow, you know. Depending on the diet of the person, you may have to buy certain supplements and drinks like Ensure, etc. Those things are very expensive. And depending on the condition of the person, a person may need 24-hour care. And that is very expensive. And And I would imagine that it feels overwhelming for a lot of families across Barbados. Some families don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. Yes, there's the home health program also that we have to assist, but that is a very lengthy process in terms of application and vetting. And what do we do, or what do we say to those families in the mean and in between? We don't want them to be abandoning the elderly. When I looked at the legislation when it comes to providing for the elderly, there is none in terms of protecting the elderly from abuse. I want to acknowledge the President of the Democratic Labour Party, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. Lovely to see you, sir. Yes. Yes. As I was saying, there is not sufficient legislation within Barbados that deals with the elderly. And on speaking about the expensive venture in taking care of the elderly, I also note that when some of the elderly go into the alternative care program, that their pensions, usually if they've already started to disperse that pension, goes to sometimes family members or friends or persons who would have had them in their care before. And I am saying that we need legislation that when we put them into the public system to care for them, that their pensions can be redirected to help care and maintain the elderly. There are some circumstances, as I said, where the homes are so overburdened, they're so full that some of the elderly have to be transferred to private institutions, and the government bears the full cost of taking care and paying for the private care of those persons. And I am saying that it would be prudent for us to develop a policy where those the elderly persons who go into the care of the public institutions or go into the care of the private institutions via the public transfer, that we redirect the pension to help aid and take care of them. Yeah? I want to also note that there are a lot of underemployed elderly care workers and unemployed elderly care workers. I would have spoken to a few of them. And even though we do have the courses, the course was a 6-month course before, but now it's a year's course. We have persons coming out from the courses having nothing to do, having no job attachments. That is, and I would have mentioned before that the said homes are understaffed. I can't correlate the connection between the fact that we are understaffed and there are so many underemployed or unemployed elderly care workers within Barbados. And I also want to advocate for the education of family members of those elderly persons in caring for them, especially those elderly persons who suffer from mental challenges. It is not easy. It is not something easily digestible to family members to see their loved ones sometimes disintegrate before their eyes. And I want to courses within the varying communities across Barbados to educate and to counsel families on how to properly deal with caring for their elderly loved ones. That is just a snippet of the vision that I have for the social development specifically for the elderly. I believe that we ought to pay particular attention and urgent attention to those persons, as I said, who would have built this country on their backs. And I believe, again, as the Bible says, we ought to honor them. The Bible also says, honor your father and thy mother, that your days will be long in the land. And we must not forget them. We must not leave them by the wayside. That is the extent of my submissions for this evening, my contribution. And I will pass the mic back to Chair Lady.
Thank you so much, Shadow Minister for Social Development, Ms. Faith Graves. And she really put the elder care to the front burner this evening, talking about the fact that the elderly of Barbados are the ones who built this country, and they deserve good care, whether they be at home or within the public institutions of Barbados. And we know that the public institutions like the geriatric hospital has gotten quite a lot of attention recently, along with the Minister of Elder Affairs, who was up to, I think last night, he was on the news speaking about family members maybe taking advantage of the elderly ones. But at the end of the day, family members can only do so much, and they too need help, mental health help. They need education, as Faith so willingly said, that they're the vulnerable ones in our society, and they deserve to be taken care of with as much respect and care as possible. And so while we have taken the elder care to the front burner with Faith, and we have on the other side of things our chair for the Young Democrats, Miss Tyra Trotman, who has always advocated for the youth of this country, her being so young herself, and so willingly advocating for athletes most recently, showcasing why and asking questions as to how come the grant that was given for sports administration and sports facilities in Barbados has not reaped the rewards for our athletes who are now coming back from Carifta. And I think Carifta was only last weekend. And it had Barbadians wondering and questioning what is happening in the sporting arena. We do not have adequate facilities for our athletes. They deserve proper facilities, particularly if a government is going to negotiate a grant specifically for them. They deserve the facilities. So now that I've set the tone for Tyra Trotman to give her contribution this evening, I hope we listen with rapt attention so that we could have some good questions for her when we get to our question and comment section. So let's give a round of applause and welcome Miss Tyra Trotman.
Pleasant good evening, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be out and able to speak. God has given me a voice, and I intend to use it until I die, no matter how much they try to silence me. So sports, I just want to start off by just introducing the concept of sports. A lot of persons think of sports as just maybe a hobby. They don't really think of it too deeply. But sports goes much further than just a hobby. Not only is it a career choice or a career option for many young persons, but it can also benefit tremendously health. It has a lot of health benefits. Right now, there's a study which was carried out that shows Barbados is suffering from diabetes. It's a national concern. And a lot of the times, diabetes is linked to obesity. And then there's also the issue of hypertension. There was a study conducted that showed that approximately 39% of Barbados population is obese. And 30% were overweight. And then, of course, this is linked to the lack of physical activity. Yes, we had COVID. Yes, there was a period of time where contact sports was not allowed. But this cannot be the excuse, the repeated excuse. We've now come out of COVID, and there's a period where we can now be active again. But unfortunately, we don't have the facilities for it, as you heard Stacia mention. As I was walking around, I realized there are a lot of constituents who do not benefit from having proper pavilions or proper hard courts. A lot of them have been abandoned. They need repaving, they need washroom facilities, especially for females. They need locker rooms or some sort of storage. So there's the issue of that. We don't only want to see mini stadium in the sense that you're putting up fencing and light and calling it a mini stadium, but we want you to actually go into the constituencies and refurbish what is already there. Help the youth. Not only is it beneficial to health, physical health, but it's beneficial to mental health. These days, a lot of us, when I say us, I mean young people especially, we struggle because of the pressures of life. Cost of living is very high. A lot of us don't have job placements. And that causes stress, anxiety, depression. There has been studies that prove that physical activity help improve those things. So why is it not a national concern? Why is more effort not going towards setting up facilities where young people can come out, use them, not only for recreational sports, but for competition? As I said, sports is a career choice. For many young people, we place heavy emphasis on cricket. So I'll use that as an example. There are a lot of young men who are able to build homes and support their families from cricket. But cricket is not the only sports out there. We have swimming, we have netball, we have boxing, we have mixed martial arts on the whole. Netball, basketball, hockey, track and field. These are all sports that need attention. But there's a heavy emphasis. Yes, we love our cricket, but it's not the only sport out there. And I think there needs to be a broadening of the support, not only for cricket, but for all those other sports which I just mentioned. Right now, as we know, we're going through a crisis, not only in terms of mental health, but there's also a lot of crime. There's high crime. Where there's high poverty, there's high crime. But not only where there's high poverty, but where we have an issue with disciplining young people, you will find high levels of crime as well. And sports can cause a form of discipline because you have a routine. You know you have to wake up at a certain time, you have to train, you have to eat properly. So it implements or it builds a certain characteristic to you when you're growing up that you can then carry on right throughout your life, even if you don't intend to become a professional athlete. It's something you carry out throughout the rest of your life. So those are some of the benefits of sports. It's not just a hobby. Sports is also a tourism product. I remember when I was really, really young, there was a big surfing competition on the East Coast that I think Mark Holder was the one that used to host it, where you had persons who came in from all over the world just to see this particular competition. And then it was like a big festival as well because you had culture. You had persons performing and so forth and so on. So we need to use that as an example. Sports is a tourism product. And not only surfing, but we can host, well, once we have the proper facilities, we should be able to host inter-regional competitions. Don't wait for other Caribbean countries to do it. We have the talent. We just need the opportunity. How has the absence of the national stadium affected sports? There was a statement, and I'm being very generous, a statement made by the Honorable Minister for Sports not too long ago in his response to the performance of the athletes at Carifta. And the comment not only was disrespectful to the coaches, because he sought to blame coaches for the performance of the athletes, but it lacked accountability. Because first of all, we know the absence of the national stadium has detrimentally impacted sports and athletes. And I'll show you how. Because you know I like to bring my facts. In 1997, yes, like going back to 1997, Barbados won 33 medals. In 2013, we won 20 medals. In 2011, we won 28 medals. In 2009, 21 medals. 2008, 26 medals. 2007, 21 medals. This was all when the National Stadium was all well. Then we had 13 medals in 2018, 11 medals in 2019, 11 medals in 2022, 10 medals in 2023, and then the whopping number of 5 medals this year. But instead of taking accountability and realizing that the National Stadium really and truly is one of the root causes of the decline in the medals, Mr. Griffith decided that he's going to throw the coaches under the bus and say it's the coach's fault. But I want to start off first of all by commending the athletes, because they could have taken the easy way out and said they're not participating, they're not going. But they didn't do that. They stayed committed. They decided we are going to go through thick and thin, we are going to show up. Then I want to commend the coaches, because I know from trying to run something that doesn't have many resources, it can be quite difficult. You do the best you can. So if there's limited resources, there's not enough equipment, there's not enough funding, what do you want the coaches to do? You can have all the qualifications in the world, but it's the implementation of those qualifications. A qualification is just a piece of paper. If you don't get the funding, you don't get the proper facilities, and you don't get the equipment, how will that piece of paper translate then onto the youth and the athletes? So instead of criticizing the coaches and saying they're doing a bad job, how about you support them? Give them more help, provide more funding, going to the schools, provide the equipment. There's the high jump bed and the hurdles that I'm being told are very expensive, and a lot of schools can't afford them. Also, the absence of the track. Let's not fool ourselves. The absence of the track obviously would impact track and field. We had a great show for the swimmers because there's the aquatic center. But what about the track and field athletes? And then on top of that, there should be a different track, a separate and apart track from the one that's being competed on. There needs to be one provided for training, so there's not the wear and tear that you see. And what adds insult to injury is a track was actually imported. My resources tell me since 2020. That should have been put down in 2021. And that track is somewhere in a container rotting away. After you took Bajans, the taxpayers' money, the hard-earned money, you took it up and you went and you imported a track. You did not even put it down. It's there rotting away. Waste money. And then you have the gall to come and make a statement talking about the coaches. Witness, it's your incompetence, and I will continue to say it. It is your incompetence, your lack of leadership. You were given a ministry for youth, for sports. If you had no interest in those things, you should have declined. Why are you collecting a heavy check every single month and not doing nothing? It is not fair. It is not right. And then you have the gall to point fingers and not accept accountability. How dare you? How dare you? I am offended. And everyone else should be as well. The next thing we should talk about is the fact that recently we were promised, I think they said all the approvals have now been met. Now you're talking about the stadium again. All the approvals have now been met and work on the stadium should soon begin. This was said during the budget speech. But then I heard a press release not too long ago saying 2026 we were supposed to host Carifta. We're no longer hosting it. Why? Is it because you know in your minds and in your hearts that the stadium will not be complete by 2026? I mean, that's deductive reasoning. I could be wrong. But it shows me that you have no intention on putting any efforts towards refurbishing the National Stadium. But you're putting all the efforts towards Kensington Oval, though, for the T20. What message is that sending to the young people? Are you trying to say you care about cricket, first of all, more than other sports? Are you trying to say you care about the lucrative business? Because that's what it's all about, you know. The money that comes in, allegedly, because the last one wasn't really a success, but the lucrative business of the T20 match, rather than investing in the poor people and the young people of this country. Because oftentimes it are those underprivileged persons that look for opportunities in sports, in culture. It's the truth. The next thing I want to address is the fact that, well, we know we implemented the sports council when we had the national policy. And under that policy, let me just find my notes. Under the national sports policy, there was a road tennis tours and coaches certification. I don't know if you can remember it, but I'm here to refresh your memory. This was under the Democratic Labour Party, the same Labour Party that Charles Griffithson never do nothing for sports. The National Sports Council, in collaboration with the World Road Tennis Federation, conducted tours to 7 Caribbean countries to further develop and sensitize the game of road tennis through demonstration and educational workshops to schools and communities within the 7 territories. And additionally, the organizers collaborated with the Barbados Olympic Association to develop and organize the first ever certified road tennis coaching course, which was completed in August 2016. So once again, you could take a note from the DLP book. And instead of criticizing the coaches, how about you offer something similar to this? Make sense to me, make sense to one. I remember, as a social media girl, going through the comments, I hear a lot, or I read a lot, oh, the DLP don't offer no solutions. All y'all do is criticize. But I have some solutions here for you this evening. How about we do VAT-free traveling for sports teams when they're competing, to try to encourage our teams to compete, because a lot of times the parents can't afford it. How about that? How about we give VAT concessions or duty exemptions on importing sporting gear. How about that? Why is it that it's taking so long for something as simple as uniforms to be cleared at customs? How about we fast track that? I ain't a customs expert, but I'm sure they could find a way. They have many consultants they pay on a monthly basis. Consult with them and find a way where you can fast track that so that persons can afford uniforms. How about we re-implement the drop program that we have with Suki King? You ain't gonna use our people. We would love you too. But implement something similar that helped a lot of young people. Let's look in, and that's a sport, believe it or not. Let's look into that. Let's bring that back. Instead of going on the blocks and telling men to go and register a business and giving them $10,000 or whatever the case may be, and then don't tell them how to run the business. And then soon they don't have no business at all, and you're basically flushing money down the toilet. How about let's go on the blocks like Suki King did and sit down with the young men and teach them how to play this sport, so they can put their minds to something else instead of just being idle. And you know what it's about idle hands. How about we educate persons on the difference between a physical education teacher and a coach? I remember when I went to school at Comamere. Up and on. You know it's got slip right in there all the time. We had Mr. Small, who always made it very clear he is a physical education teacher and not just a coach. We had a physical education course where we literally had to sit down and learn about the anatomy and all kind of different things. But it was a course that you were graded on. You could actually do a CSC in it. How about we bring that back? And that will also, in the long run, help the very same coaches. I mentioned it earlier, refurbishing the pavilions, putting in bathroom facilities. Don't just put up fencing and little lights and tell yourself you're going to a mini stadium. Let's take it a little bit more seriously, man. It is sad. It will encourage not only the sports, but community spirit. Do not let COVID continue to be an excuse. Like I said, let's increase the equipment in the schools, the high jump bays, the hurdles for training. We have some of the best hurdlers. No one being told we didn't have not one single hurdler went to Carifta. Not one. Why? Let's bring back the outer season programs to encourage domestic competition. Let's not just wait on the BSAT and the NAPSAT and the this and the that. Let's implement a national program where the top coaches come together and assist the young athletes in preparation for regional and international competition, whether you do it in the form of boot camp, summer camp, some sort of camp. So instead of criticizing, and I didn't really know what you're criticizing because, as I said, you are the incompetent one. Look for a solution. It is your job. You being paid to do it, not me. I'm just here to keep you on your toes. For the people of Barbados, of course. But you are being paid, sir. You were elected, sir. You were elected as a representative, sir. Do your job. Why are you waiting for me to do it? Do your job. And I made no apologies for that statement. You could call me right now from now till tomorrow. Do your job. Or let me take it from you.
Well, I told you all we would have a rousing participation from Ms. Tyra. And so we also invite Mr. Pearson Leacock to join us on the panel, as we also have Mr. Oldwinski, who just joined us. So as we reconfigure, allow Mr. Pearson, who will join our discussion and participation. I'm ready to hear you, Mr. Leacock. We will also look at the issue of agriculture this evening. And that presentation is to be done by Mr. Olwinski, who hails from St. Andrew. And so we thank you for joining us this evening. And you are here, this is your turn. So you take the mic and run with agriculture.
Thank you, Tricia. Good evening to everybody. Good evening. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. Welcome to St. Clement, St. Lucie, to all who are journeying from other parts of the country, like myself. But I always feel at home in St. Lucie because my origin as a ski starts from St. Lucie. So St. Lucie is not strange to me, but still. This afternoon, like Tricia said, I will do a presentation on agriculture because I feel passionate about agriculture because agriculture is the lifeblood of a nation. One of the things that I often speak about is that not enough is done for agriculture or in agriculture by successive governments over a number of years, because people seem to think that agriculture is a lesser ministry and a lesser industry. More focus is paid to tourism, to education, economics, and other issues. But agriculture, don't care what profession you hold, agriculture plays a significant part in your profession because whatever job you have to eat. You have to sleep. And you would not sleep well unless you eat well. Because them boys sleeping good when they're hungry. Agriculture provides those meals for each and every one. Whether it's processed food, or it's natural food grown from the ground, or from the trees, whatever you call it, agriculture is the focus that it comes from. And we have to take agriculture much more seriously in this country. I also think we have to take a closer look, because it ties in with agriculture as well, to our housing programs. Because oftentimes we take up a lot of agricultural land, prime agricultural land, for housing solutions. And it's time that we take agriculture much more seriously because Barbados is not getting any bigger. 30, 40 years down the road, the future generations to come will need to eat. We are often talking about our food import bill. But how can we reduce our food import bill? By taking up the lands consistently to build houses and other buildings on them. I saw recently in a clipping, an article, the Minister of Housing was speaking about areas earmarked for housing development. And lo and behold, the Bullings Agricultural Station has been closed down to build housing solutions. We cannot be taking agriculture seriously if we're going to close down our agricultural station to put houses. We got to rethink our modus of operandi and seriously focus on the future of agriculture, because the future of our nation relies on the future of agriculture. Oftentimes when we talk about agriculture, people also focus on poultry and that kind of animal farming. And we farmers in Barbados at this point are looking for significant reductions in their overhead costs. And one of the main overheads that farmers face a dilemma with is the cost of feed. And right now, as it stands now, we are facing a severe drought. From last year, March, I was imploring colleagues of mine to start to put methodologies in place for this drought season coming this year. And if we look at a pattern, every 12 to 14 years, you see that we experience a severe drought unlike no other. We have to start thinking about how we're going to go about doing water conservation to help farmers, because irrigation comes to be a significant factor when you look at the farming industry. Because the nutrients of the, what we call domestic water, is not in the best interest of the food crops. Because a lot of the things that you find in the domestic water hampers the growth of the food crops, especially things like lime and that kind of. When we look at nutrients, there's nothing that grows crops faster and more stronger than rainfall. Nothing. So we have to look at harvesting direct rainfall. We have to create more water catchment areas. And only recently I heard somebody from the Water Authority saying that the farmers and those who have wells on their property must give account for the wells, and it seems to me that you want to tax the well system in Barbados, which is crazy to me, because if you were trying to give impetus to farmers, you cannot be putting further burden on farmers. Farmers need a relief, not a more burden. So we have to look at water conservation methods for farmers, proper irrigation for farmers, give tangible solutions to farmers that they can enhance their farming techniques. Across the length and breadth of this country, St. Lucie is known, and St. Philip are known as tablelands, which are prime for agriculture. But one of the problems is the irrigation. The water in St. Lucie quickly dissipates in the land, so the moisture level from the topsoil dries up rather quickly, as opposed to places like St. George and St. Thomas and certain parts of St. James. The higher altitude like St. Thomas will receive, and St. Joseph will receive more rainfall than St. Lucie and St. Philip. And the harsh conditions from the wind factor coming off the beaches would reduce that moisture content in the soil as well. So irrigation becomes more necessary for the farmers in this area. And not enough trees are grown on the outskirts of these areas, because these trees produce shelter belts to keep moisture in the earth for the farmers as well, and nutrients in the topsoil. So irrigation, water conservation, and another thing we got to talk about too is crop rotation. Because oftentimes you will find that a particular farm has a particular crop growing for a long period of time. And it's time that we enhance our crop rotation so as to provide different nutrients. We all know that the nitrogen from the beans helps, and the sugarcane. We always talk about sugarcane is the basis for farming in Barbados. But our sugarcane industry is dwindling so much. When you look across the length and breadth of this country, and you see the amount of former sugarcane fields that are now overgrown with River Tamarind and Clamacherry, and being a haven for monkeys to then come and encroach on farmers, I wonder how much are we really thinking about what we are doing as a country and as a people. If we take the prime lands, you turn them into housing, and you leave the other arable lands into bush, it's only one other outlook that will come, and that's food importation. We always talk about the nutrition value of our food. We often have to think about the pesticides that we use in terms of getting the crops to market and how we are going to enhance the growth. We know about genetically modified foods, but in Barbados, we often do traditional farming. Our food crops are higher in nutrition than those that are imported. But if we continue to use imported pesticides, we're going to lose that nutrition content severely, because we're going to adopt the same practices that we are crying down other farmers overseas for doing. So we have to look carefully at the pesticides that we import to Barbados and educate farmers on the use of the pesticides. Oftentimes farmers buy pesticides and they can't even read the labels because the print is so small, and they don't have the time to really get to magnify it, to really understand the reading. So they go on a basis of knowledge, well, look, I can pour X amount of this in a bottle and put it in a can and I can use it. You start to get results for the first time, but down the road, how beneficial it is to the growth of the crop. Then we look at the yields. This year you might get a bountiful crop, but the repercussions of using that pesticide 3-4 years down the road, you start to see the shrinking of the plants. And you wonder what's causing it. You're going to use another pesticide then to enhance the growth. but all these things are impacting the nutrition content of the food. So as a people who are involved in farming, we have to be careful of what practices we use, the methodology we take from people from outside, and how we're going to implement them locally. A new feed plant is coming on board shortly, and farmers are hopeful and optimistic that this feed plant will help to reduce the cost of animal feed. We know that government has given a subvention to Pinnacle Feeds recently to reduce the cost, but it was not sustainable. So we also have to look at ways to grow products locally that can be used in the manufacturing of feeds in Barbados to help stimulate the growth of our livestock. At Greenland Agricultural Station about 3-4 years ago, there was a project ongoing at looking at making feeds for small ruminants, things like rabbits and that kind of thing, because rabbit rearing is increasing in Barbados. I don't know how many people in here indulge in rabbit meat, but rabbit meat is one of the best tasting meats you can ever have. In other countries, people have mountain chicken, people eat all different kinds of things. But we know how rabbits are raised in Barbados. You can give rabbits vegetation. When you have your sweet potatoes growing, you can feed them the ends, what we call the slips. You can give them, when you peel your carrots in the kitchen, you can give them the skins. All that will enhance the growth of your rabbits. These things are things that we need to start implementing in our feed programs so that we can keep the nutrition value or improve it, but also at the same time improve the amount of animals we are rearing. And talking about animals we are rearing, it brings me to the point of the black belly sheep, because we were exporting black belly sheep to Guyana to increase the lot in Barbados, and I find that very strange because I have not seen any of the black belly sheep return to Barbados. I don't know if they can't get back on a plane or a boat. I feel they got carried into immigration and get a visa for them. But the reality is that there are farmers in Barbados, and one farmer who comes to mind, who is deceased now, but has had a significant project going when it comes to black belly sheep. And I think that his model should be utilized extensively by farmers in Barbados. I'm talking about no other than Mr. Vincent Lane, Lord rest his soul. Vincent Lane produced a lamb ready for market at 40 pounds in meat in 3 months. Let that sink in for a minute. 40 pounds of meat for market consumption in 3 months. But we sending overseas our black belly sheep to breed with another sheep to come back to Barbados. I don't know how you can take one animal, take the genetics from another animal, and get the same animal. I don't know how that's going to work, but that's science. But my God, that's running. Oh, that's high science. Because to me, it doesn't make sense. We should be looking at improving our farmers here in Barbados. Because when we send these sheep overseas, it's not improving the farming techniques of the farmers in Barbados. You might get back a few more carcasses here and there, but by and large, the farmers who are in Barbados who are supporting the local market are still not benefiting from techniques. How are you enhancing the skills? What are they doing wrong that you say you have to send the black belly sheep overseas? I see, for instance, we have large areas, and as I spoke about earlier, the drought system is coming on. And I see land that is owned by the state. We send the mowers, and they often mow the grass at short periods and leave it there. Why can't we allow that grass to grow for another month or two? And when the mowers come in, bring in the balers with the hay, and allow farmers who don't have a large pasture to utilize that same grass. It can be, the cost can be subsidized because it's state-owned property, is not looking to make a profit. All the state has to do is cover their expenditure and the farmers can benefit significantly. We have large orchards that the nutrients from those same trees go into that same grass. We know about alfalfa, we know about pangola, we know about different types of grass that can be beneficial to the feed program. But how are we utilizing them? Which areas in Barbados are we improving in the grass planting to help the farmers who don't have large pastoral areas? The dairy industry, those people who have cows raising milk for Pine Hill Dairy and such like, those people will have a significant challenge in the near future because cows don't eat, as the old people say, a little bit of grass. And they will need something to supplement that growth. And the feed cost, like I said, is high. So we need to relook how we're going to get proper pastoral areas to help assist the farmers. We have to look also at preferential markets to help our farmers. We have World Cup cricket coming up, and everybody's casting their aspirations and their hopes on the World Cup. And any right-thinking Barbadian would honestly hope that the World Cup is a success because we need the money. It will be money that would not be borrowed, and we know we're borrowing a lot. So if we can get money coming in, a dollar earned is a dollar saved, or a dollar saved is a dollar earned. We have to look seriously at how our farmers can benefit from the impact of the people who are coming in to World Cup cricket, not only to feed them on the short term, but to see if we can tap into resource markets externally, that the farmers then can start to export some of the produce that they do in Barbados. We often think about the hotel industry and just supplying the hotels, but we have to start looking at external markets for when these people come to Barbados to get farmers to tap into that resource. Because the farmers in Barbados don't have the resources to go out there and do external marketing. And that is where we always talk about the BTMI, but the BTMI has a greater role to play than just tourism. Because farming industries in Barbados can benefit from those international markets as well. But we have to look seriously at how we're going to help to improve farming and not just see tourism as an off product and farming as an off product. They both can mesh. Housing, farming, tourism, education, manufacturing, all are tied in. Even health as well. Because when you import certain animals into Barbados, the pesticides is one aspect, but there's also pests. And some animals come with diseases. So we have to look carefully at when we bring these animals into Barbados, the proliferation that we bring them in, and the pests and the diseases that come with them. And then therefore takes over the other animals that are in Barbados. Because once somebody has the genetics, the word is going to spread, oh, this man got a nice prize bull, and you go to get the genetics from him, not knowing that you are importing in your animal and your flock a disease. So there are a lot of things that we need to do in agriculture to help our farmers and to help our people. And once we can get agriculture to be viable for the farmers again, this country will benefit significantly because they will use less foreign exchange to import a lot of the things that we're importing, and we will empower plenty of people. Because once we can get a lot of the agriculture, the good arable agricultural land in production, and one of the things that we need to do is, as well, is get our plowing schemes working well. The BADMC had an issue with their plowing scheme. A lot of farmers were complaining that the time that they were looking to get their grounds plowed up, they couldn't because the few people who have plowing schemes are busy or tied up, and they miss the opportunity. And we all know planting is a scheduled thing. Most of our farmers plant with the moon. And if you miss out on that opportunity, we talk about short-term crops, that 3-4 months. If you miss out a month, there's a further month down the road, but you still have overheads to cover. So we need to look at getting the plowing schemes working and getting things done on a timely manner that we can utilize, because we have a hot, wet climate, and we need to utilize the conditions for the farmers because they're lacking water conservation, they're lacking irrigation, So they try to capitalize on the rainfall whenever it comes. But if the grounds are not properly plowed at that point in time, they can't capitalize on those things. So this is just a few of the things that in agriculture that we can talk about. And I would hand back over to Tricia. Stacia, sorry, I don't know why I call her Tricia. But my mind is a little bit far off today because today is my birthday. I was not intended to be here.
What?
But I have a commitment to this
Happy birthday.
party. And when the party calls, I will respond. So I am here. I will make an excuse for my chairman, Mr. Ford. He has an engagement with his family and he cannot be here. But otherwise, we hope that the Democratic Labour Party and the people who support the Democratic Labour Party can continue to do so and feel reinvigorated, because the Democratic Labour Party is the party that's going to do well and do right by the people of Barbados when the opportunity comes. So we're going to hand back over to Stacia, and we will continue the discussion this evening in the People's House.
Thank you so much, Olwyn. Now you see why he is the voice of agriculture. This man picked down agriculture from beginning to end, show you how you can integrate each sector, from housing to tourism. I would have even thought sports, health included. So the voices of young, bright individuals like Olwyn are necessary and good for the Democratic Labour Party. And so we've looked at social care through Faith Graves. We've had the voice of the youth and sports speaking very passionately through Miss Tyra Trotman, looking at sports could be an actual career, Minister of Sports. You can actually have out-of-season programs to help our athletes, Mr. Minister of Sports. VAT-free for athletes traveling to meets can actually be a thing, Mr. Minister of Sports. And we want the athletic track of the National Stadium down so that our athletes can practice and train. These are things that the Democratic Labour Party is calling for. And take care of the container, because the thing disintegrating within the container, and ain't no use to any athlete or any Barbadian within a container. So thank you so much, everyone. So now we come to St. Lucie. We are in St. Lucie this evening, enjoying a nice, breezy, cool Sunday evening. You don't get this in the city, right? So we now invite Mr. Pearson Leacock to come to the fore and for you to highlight, speak on issues you think that are impacting residents in St. Lucie, things that are important to St. Lucie, things that might be overlooked by the government that you want to bring to the fore. And we invite you to the mic to get, because I know you have a special interest in St. Lucie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This evening, I want to speak about bread and butter issues. Do you know that when the electricity goes up, the cost of everything goes up? The cost of goods and services, the cost of your food. You know what the supermarket owners will say? My bill is so high, I have to put on a $10 and $5 and $2 here and there. And we go to the supermarket, something that cost $5 yesterday is now $8. Without any explanation. All because of the high energy bill. Well, I got some good news for you people in St. Lucie this evening. Apparently, there's an investor that the government is courting. They're going to have a wind farm program between Lamberts and Castle. What they plan to do is to have, I think, 15 to 20 of these big turbines, not like the one that used to be at Lamberts. Anybody remember that one? Anybody's young enough to remember that one? Noisy and terrible, right? Horrible. I remember one day I was sleeping because I worked the night and this thing started up. It gave me a headache. Oh Lord, it was terrible. Anyway, they're promising that this wind farm will be different. It's supposed to provide between 30 and 50 megawatts. Now, Barbados and Power just spent a lot of money there at Trent's, below St. Lucy's Parish Church, for just 10 megawatts. I don't get it. But this wind farm is going to be between 30 and 50 megawatts. But guess what? Not only are they going to invest, if it comes true, between, say, about 100 million US, that's a lot. But here's what. I want them to, as part of the investment, they must upgrade the infrastructure in St. Lucie. What they must do is give us 2 playing fields and about 3 community centers. And guess what? They're having a fact-finding tour to Jamaica on Tuesday. And guess who's going? Guess who I invite to go? Of course, because they want me to convince y'all that the farm will be good. But I told them, look, one thing I can do is lie. If I go to Jamaica and you think noisy, I can tell y'all that noisy, don't bring it here. If it is not efficient, don't bring it here. If it's going to provide jobs, bring it. If it's quiet, bring it. If it's going to improve the infrastructure with the roads leading to it and all that, and businesses will spray up, because this is not something that's going to happen over a 2 months or 3 month period. You'll have contractors involved. There's work with the construction of them. There's work. These things are computerized. There are people who, the young people who are tech savvy, will get to monitor those, if it comes to Barbados and is approved, we get to monitor those energy devices, these big, massive windmills. And they tell me they move really slow, really slow. And the thing about that, right, is that if they're doing that, what I would like them to do, and what I'm going to propose to them, is that they have a mini, instead of selling all to Barbados Light and Power, have a mini power station that the residents of St. Lucie will benefit from, that they can buy their electricity directly from that power station at a reduced cost. I don't know how feasible it will be, but I will propose it. And the reason for that is that right now, Barbados Light and Power is trying to jerk out people's eyes. Instead of using their monies that they've made over the years to improve their infrastructure and to develop their plants and all that, to transfer to from fossil fuel to renewable energy. You know what they did? They give their shareholders millions of dollars. And they want to take the money off the backs of poor people like us. And if we say no, can't happen. And one of the things that they did also, and this inept government encouraged persons, put photovoltaic on your roof. I had a friend that borrowed $60,000. And you know how much the employer pays her every month? About $15. That don't make sense. It don't make sense at all. Her bill is still relatively high. They buy back. What they do, they buy from the consumer at a cheap rate, but sell it back to us, the average householder, at the same high price. I believe that that's wrong. Back to the project I told you all about just now with the wind farm. Now with this wind farm, one of the things I asked for specifically is that the area in Lambert's, well, Daytree Hill coming down, that they provide at least 3 dams. There's a lot of water that comes from that hill from Daytree Hill. Remember this young man that lost his life with that bridge up there in Daytree Hill? Remember Gary? Right. They promised me that if it comes, they're going to fix that bridge. They're going to give us a new bridge. Yeah, I don't just talk. I demand stuff. They say that they're going to put in 3 dams because what they need to do is to account for the old men that tie the cow out there with cow pasture. They have to compensate those people or move them to other areas. So what they're going to do, besides the dam, they're going to use the dam water for irrigation. Or when they're going to use that for irrigation for the the farmers. And not only that, the water is coming down there by Morgan ain't gonna be that strong anymore because the dam's gonna take away some of the speed that with which it rushes down. So it won't be able to wash out the road anymore. And I believe that that'll be good for this area. And for once in the history of St. Lucie, we will have, if it comes, a sustainable project that can benefit the entire community along with Barbados. And it will be not only contextualized by the investors overseas, but will have local input. Persons like myself will have a voice. Mr. Alvin Toppin also is going on that trip. We're not going to tell him later for anybody. So when we go there, if it is so, we'll say it's so. If it's not so, I personally will say, no, it's not so. One thing I wanted to do, though, is to see that places like the community center at Rockfield will be reopened. Any community center in Barbados should be open for the young people. What are we doing having young persons housed up in it? I remember when Margaret used to play dominoes in that place. We used to hold meetings in the one at Rockfield. There was a dance club. Was there a dance club? You like dancing? And this government closed the place. The only thing there now is cockroaches, mosquitoes, and centipedes. Seriously? Is that what they think of us in St. Lucie? Close up the community center. One of the other things I want to see in St. Lucie is that will help with the bread and butter issues, is to expand that farmers market or make it into a farmers market just there opposite Crab Hill Police Station. Right now it's just a couple of vendors, farmers selling right there. But I believe that if you can improve the infrastructure, put in some lighting, bathroom facilities, seating areas and all that, and areas for presentation of produce, I believe that we can have a farmers market in St. Lucie that rivals the one in Brighton, in St. George. It's even better than that. And the prices would be lower because you're coming directly from the farmers. So if you're going to buy your sweet potatoes, I love sweet potatoes, by the way. If you buy your sweet potatoes there, they should be cheaper than when you buy in the supermarket. If you buy lettuce, carrots, okras, whatever you buy there should be cheaper. And the best thing about that is that the farmers get to benefit. The persons in the residents of St. Lucie and whoever want to come will get to benefit, and we'll eat healthy, and we'll eat it at a reduced cost. There's no rocket science behind that. It's just a matter of facilitation. It's just a matter of the will of the government. The government is lacking in common sense. And I say that without apology. Common sense measures. The other day I drove up to River Bay. And also I drove up to Cove Bay. Do you believe that that's one of the most picturesque places in Barbados? Do you believe that that has so much potential for tourism? And I believe that I can have a Hollywood movie being shot up there. But look at the road. My God, man. It's a carrot road. It's just dirt. Are we serious? You ever been to the Animal Flower Cave? The road is deplorable. All these are tourist attractions, but this government don't seem to have the foresight, the will to make that area, well landscaped with decent road and have some people even selling craft along the way. Nothing's wrong with that. And also make it safe that, nobody you don't have places where persons can lay in wait and try to rob tourists or whatever. But you should have the area cleared, and if you want to have island constables along the route, if you want to have the police patrols visit the area more often, you can do that. But let us have it for the benefit of St. Lucie and the residents. Let us have toilet facilities at Cove Bay. If it's a problem with landowner, compulsory require where you have to, and don't just do what you did to Miss Ram at Bay Street. Take land from a private citizen to give it to another private citizen to develop. Like if that private citizen was not capable of doing what we call an arm's length transaction, where she would have sold it to whoever she want with a private treaty between she and whoever was willing to pay. No, the government said, we can take it from you. And guess what? Up there, about 4 or 5 years now? 4 years going? Man, these people, real in that. Anyway, before I close, the only thing I want to say about the other bread and butter issues I'm talking about is be careful when you go to the supermarket, just shop wisely, that's all. They say there's no price gouging. That's what they say. But how could something cost $2 today, Mr. Maloney? And when you go back Friday, it costs $8. And there's no price. They tell you, there's no price gouging. Freight ain't changed. VAT ain't changed. Duty ain't changed. Nothing that you can think of that would cause a sudden rise in price ain't happened. But all of a sudden, without you really realizing it, when you put it in a basket and you get the cash, wait, I bought that last week for $3 less. How I get, just be careful. There are persons out there who are literally jerking out Bajan's eyes. So I want y'all to be careful who you shop at, where you shop, and be vigilant. Keep your bills, nothing's wrong with that. Keep track of what you're buying. There are unscrupulous persons out there who call themselves owners of supermarkets. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leacock. That was a good intervention. So St. Lucie knows it has more than one voice at the table. So right now, I acknowledge the presence of our third vice president, Ms. Felicia Dujon. I love to say Dujon. It has a certain ring to it. So as the sunlight goes down in the picturesque St. Lucie, we will now turn our focus to labor. Our second vice president, Mr. Walter Maloney, I don't know anybody, but this man couldn't get more dedicated to labor rights and labor advocacy and labor representation and everything labor-oriented in Barbados. When this man speaks about labor, we know we are being given this expert opinion and knowledge. Not that he grasped it out the sky like, a certain minister of labor, but this man is very well informed. And so I give it to Mr. Walter Maloney, and we welcome him with a round of applause to share with us the labor issues in Barbados.
Thank you, Stacia. Good evening, brothers and sisters. I was supposed to come to St. Lucie, I think it was 2 months ago. And because of unforeseen circumstances, we couldn't make it. But I'm happy to be here this evening. Before I go into my little piece, though, I need to listen to Fifth, and when she talked about the elders, and I can certainly attest to what she was saying, because my mother got diagnosed with dementia at 74, and she died at 89. So for 15 years, I saw a deterioration in my mother, and I know that it can be a very, very difficult thing. And that is something that I am glad you mentioned it this evening, that government, a caring government, will make certain that they put the resources there to look after the young, the elders in our society. And so we can look at and see why is it that this is so important, because we had a geriatric hospital in Bay Street. Really older people could come on evenings and watch the sea, but that was too good for them. And this government moved them on a highway with all the noise, all right? Bay Street was too good for them. There's nothing caring about this government. And if anybody in this room believe that, and still believe that, you all living in some sort of land that I don't know where you're all coming from or where you're going. But there's nothing caring about this government. And that's just my piece. And thanks for an excellent presentation on agriculture. My brother here, like you, my wife does most of the shopping, but I certainly, well, I tell you the truth, I have that too. But I certainly am buying that. It was $2 yesterday, $10 today. It will remain where it is, all right? That's so serious. But this evening, though, I need to zero in on a couple of things. And I'm glad that Tyra, who spoke on youth, and sports is just another vehicle that young people can move ahead in. We're talking about an industry that's almost a $3 trillion industry across the world. And it's not only about athletes and people running here and there, but there's all sorts of other scientific things that's happening, jobs being formulated for younger persons and stuff like that. And so this brings me to something that gnawed at me over the last couple of days, and this is the Auditor General's report. I think everybody here would have heard about it, read it, but I'm not going to speak to what the Auditor General said. I left that for the Comrade President to look at. But I just want to look at something here, because we have a government that continues, at least it started, by telling us they will be different than the last administration. The mantra is all about accountability and transparency, and they will be doing things differently, and they will make certain, they put certain strategies in place that this country will continue to run and run well. So I'm going to just read, just bear me, the Auditor General. And this is in his introductory comments. And it says, there are several challenges faced in the office, which is the Auditor General's office, which has resulted in the lateness of reports. And the reason, because as you will realize, there are some areas that are not audited because you cannot get reports. He said the first relates to staffing in the office. I have been reporting on this matter over time. It has gotten progressively worse. Currently, over 80% of the junior auditor positions are not occupied, and the demand from the remaining auditors to act in other ministries and departments has recently gathered pace. What the Auditor General is basically telling us, the importance that we place on the Auditor General's department is not the same for this government. What they have been doing from the time they came into office, and because of the reports that the Auditor General has been issuing, is to try to diminish the importance of that department. 80% of the junior auditors' positions are not filled. And don't tell me that there are not young Barbadians who are capable of filling those positions. Only teachers are careful. So you tell me your accounting programs, your finance programs, the auditor programs, then one or two little children come to them in this come. So why is it that you cannot find young people in this country to fill those positions? And it's a simple matter, you know. They want to. Because as long as they restrict him and his staff from doing what they're supposed to do and is mandated on the Constitution of this country, the report that you got yesterday will not be forthcoming, because there will be no staff. There will be no staff to give you the kind of information that you rightly deserve. So this is what they are doing. Only a fancy word called attrition. People go home, they're replacing them. What they did is to offer the senior staff on promotion to go to other departments, but they're not replacing them with anybody. So the reports that you've been getting over the years will diminish even further. Even further. The monies that's being spent in this country, you will know about it, because there will be no report from the Auditor General to inform you how the money is being misspent. You all understand what I'm saying? When I hear understand what I'm really saying? There is nothing honest and decent about this government. I'm sorry, but I think we need to say the truth. We need to say the truth. Not the minister saying the $23 million overrun was needed, and it is, I didn't even want to get in there, I left off a run to deal with it. But the fact remains is this: over the years, monies have been spent in departments, in the ministries, and we cannot account for it. And every time Leah Trotman has to be one of the strongest willed men in Barbados. They have tried everything to get rid of him. But you know they can't get rid of him because why? His job is protected under the Constitution. So they can only say if he's incompetent, and he certainly isn't. He certainly isn't. But one man, even if he had a staff of 5, cannot audit the whole public service. They can't. He just can't. He just can't. No staff. No staff. With no staff. But yet we have young people, young, bright people in this country who are looking for work. And you are not going to put those persons in the other department. But this is what we are doing, though. This is what we are doing. You're finding money for friends, for family, for nuisances, and giving them contracts.
That's true.
For $15,000. $15,000 a pop, and nobody knows what the hell these people are doing. Nobody knows. Every department in this country. Yes, 2 days ago, the licensing authority, you know what the fellas walk off the job? They ain't got no staff. They ain't got no staff. The fellas at the airport, the cargo thing, environmental problems. Okay? We are every day the FTC. that's I can tell when to prepare when the service some more walkouts now, you know. They don't want to get me BRI, yeah? Because you go on down to the FCC now, saying that you are going to, I want to find a good word, because they know what they're doing, that's true. I don't think the person who is doing it even know what they're doing. But this is what's happening. You brought in local contractors, right? Private contractors. People doing protective work in there. You had people in there working for the last 10 to 14 years. You decide you are restructuring. And you have a person in there who just only worked for 4 months. 4 months, not even on staff. And you offer that person a position. But you know the people who are working for 13 or 14 years, you're telling them, they're going to apply. What I tell you, that's how many people that got the jobs. They are going to send them home and bring who they want. They will be bringing in their own people. And so when you talk about mental health issues in this country, let me tell you, you know it is a man going to work, a woman going to work, I don't know if they got a job tomorrow. They don't know if they have a job tomorrow. You're talking about, right now, you're talking about restructuring, UDC, RDC, NHC. Okay? You're looking at the FS, I think Fair Trade and Financial Services Commission. You're looking at bra having issues. Let me explain, I don't know how many people here work in government, you know. But when you join the public service, it was a simple thing. Permanent secretaries are permanent secretary. Responsibility was the chief accounting officer for every ministry that he owns or every department. Okay? That was a PS. You know we got more PSs in this country now working as special assignments officers. You all know this? You know, as soon as you open your mouth and do not agree with anything this woman says, she creates a department. She creates, I tell you no lie, she creates the department and says you are special assignment PS assigned to this department with no staff. With no staff. Listen to the lies we talking. This is not lies. This is the truth. This is the truth. So you got a whole set of departments being set up all over Barbados with all sorts of fancy names. With a PS sitting down, not even a secretary or a clerical officer in the office to help you or her. And that's a fact. That is a fact. But contracts going left, right, and center. Left, right, and center. Everybody got a contract. And if you're lucky, you get a car too. And if you're further luckier, and you're really inside the room, you can get your 20% gratuity too. You get 20% gratuity. This country is in trouble. It's in serious, serious trouble. And I'm glad that my sister is here who represent the youth. Because when you make a statement in Parliament, on our televisions, that there were no persons in Barbados that had up a housing company, that's an insult to the young people in this country. That is an insult. And I'm telling you now, if you've got children and grandchildren, and you're taking your last dollar to make certain to get a sensible education, what the Prime Minister of this country is telling you, that when the children are worth it, when they're worth it, that is what she's saying. You all are not worth it. So we can bring somebody from somewhere, some other son, and that person will be given the job. Young people in this country. Young people. And what they're willing to offer you, a young person, you know, it is an amazing thing. You took some people and made them, what's it called? The backbenchers. They create these posts, the assistant. Get a $6,000 when the month comes. I ain't got no problem. Everybody want money to feed the family. There's nothing wrong with that. $6,000 when the month comes. A duty-free car. Telephone allowance. But do you know a young graduate from KFL in economics can't get $6,000 a month? You want to? It would take him another probably, all depends where it is. 6,000 was probably about Z2, Z3, somewhere around there. Is that scale? 6,000? No, about Z1. It can be Z2, yeah, somewhere around there. So we're taking him another pop about maybe 6-7 years to get him in there. $6,000. But you can find $6,000 to get people to go to funerals because your representative too busy doing what he's doing. Or to pick up the clothes from the laundry, right? Or pick up the 2 little children from school. I ain't got a problem with that. Everybody needs money. Everybody needs to look after the children. But what is the message you are sending those young people? What's the message you send to them? What is the message you are sending to them? And so tonight, we need to focus, and like I said, the elder and the younger. We need to find that bridge. And so there's a couple of things I want to say tonight. One, the Democratic Labour Party would not be playing with the words of accountability and transparency. We don't have any words that is play with. So the first thing we will need to do is to make certain that the Auditor General's Department get the requisite people in there. We have nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide. There's a reason why the Auditor General is placed in the Constitution of Barbados, because it's supposed to look after the spending of the people's money, where it went and how it was spent. And so we need to put this correct staffing in there. Correct staffing. We got to put in there. So that the reports make sense to us. And so that when a man writes the report, you don't decide, it's you, I don't let you say, I can try my best to stifle it, and by stifling it, don't get any staff, and hope they go along with your business, or something will happen to you. That's the first thing we can do. You got to make it right. You got to make it make sense. Second thing, and I think we mentioned this here before. once upon a time, I remember somebody asked me, how come I was never involved with a lot of marching up and down Broad Street and all sorts. And it was a very simple reason, you know. And this had nothing to do with me. This was started by people before me, the drug orders of them. Every 3 months, there was a meeting between the unions and the public service. So you would go in, and you would say, well, what ministry, we got an issue in ministry A, let me know so we can deal with it, and we move on from there. Okay? Then department, go on from there. No? Then stop that too. So if you want a proper industrial relations climate, this is what this party is going to be saying. We will go back to that. We will go back in meeting with the unions every 3 months so we can iron out whatever the issues are. There are issues. You don't wait for the knee-jerk reaction. Wait till the teachers walk off the school and then say that you thought only teachers get sick but not the pupils. Well, what kind of, I never hear so much foolishness. You just realize the kind of nonsense is going to these people. These people don't got the kind of respect for them, you know. They have no respect for people. But you will try your best because there will always be a conflict. There will always be adversarial relationships. But you try your best. Let us try and see if we can nip it in the bud before we get out of the way. So that's another one, Mr. President, we need to do. And you see this contract thing? Let me tell you what I say. When we mentioned this, people thought that we were only talking about people like the chief education officer and the chief agricultural officer and all kind of crap, right? People really thought we were only talking about them. But let me tell you what's happening now. It isn't only the family and friends that get contracts, though. The young people who are coming into public service are getting contracts. And let me tell you, one of the most wicked things in the world, right, is to get a young person a contract. There's no security of tenure in a short-term contract. You can't go in a bank and tell the bank manager, I want to buy a little car because they gave me $5,000 a month. The first thing the bank manager asks you, where's due? You don't want a job? You don't have no job. And this is what this so-called caring government has done. If you look in the papers, almost every job advertised is a temporary job. No, I'm serious. You can go online and watch it. Almost every job is a temporary job or some contractual arrangement job. So there's no future that young people can build. And a young person joined the public service years ago, he said, well, I can go along here, I can go get a pension. But what it also did was to improve themselves, and maybe 20 years from like Brother Morgan became the assistant commissioner. Because there was a path. Now if you get upon a contract, then a path. There's no path. You got people who, it's called monitors, class monitors. They ain't get paid since December though. Want to know that? Ain't get paid since December. School meals attendance, yeah, they ain't getting paid neither. You know what I'm trying to tell you? But yet, you have a prime minister who tried to represent taking 67 people on a plane to Dubai and tried to tell us that it was worth it. It was worth it for who? It was worth it 67 people went. So I ain't at Dubai yet. But who benefited from that? Who benefited from it? All I will say is this, and it's getting late now, but we'll listen to the questions. But I'm saying that this party has committed itself into making certain that the mistakes that these people are doing, you will not be party to. And I can leave it with this one too. You see this foolishness about getting public service to go on well? That's nonsense. This party can commit itself that ain't gonna happen no more neither. No public servant has gone on under any street light and asked anybody to vote for them. You went out there, lied to the people, took the money, spend it however you like, and then want to put a public servant in the well to answer questions from you who's spent the money. You can imagine that? The same people who spent the money is asking a lowly paid public servant what it should or should not do. And they can tell me, they say, since last year, I know a lady, a good friend of mine, who was on sick leave because of that. She has not caught herself. I am so serious, and I'm not telling any lies here. She has not caught herself. She went in that well, and those people drilled that woman. She almost like a nervous breakdown. She has not gone back to work. That's the wickedness of these people. And whenever something happens, they always find somebody else to blame. They don't take responsibility for nothing. And so I will leave with you with this. Prepare yourselves some more work stoppages. I said so 2 years ago when I'm seeing it now, and the same time and again. This is only, it's not warming up. Because when people feel threatened, when people feel that they're not being empowered, these are going to be the results. The slightest thing is going to trigger, and they're going to walk off the job, and they will walk off the job. So don't curse them. Don't curse them because we beat the pans during COVID for the nurses. You remember that? Remember we were supposed to beat the pans that who was doing in England? Bam, 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 everybody said, for the nurses. And what do they do? What do they do? The doctor pay. The doctor pay. I know you're telling them they can get them 5 sick days or 5 days or some foolishness. And everybody's supposed to feel good about that. But the issues that the nurses have been asking about, the grievances that have been asking for the last 7 and 8 years, the woman didn't address none, no? She didn't address none. But beat the pants. Where's the next crisis come? Beat the pants. Brothers and sisters, I will listen to the questions, but all I will tell you is this. This country is in serious, serious trouble. And what we are seeing, a country being developed for friends, lackeys, yardfowls, and family. And if you don't have a red shirt, which I got 2 of them, but they don't look so right to me now. If you don't have a red shirt and carry a passport from Robert Street, you and your family would suffer. Believe you me, they will suffer. Whenever time something happens in Barbados, every time something happens, you know the first thing they do? This called the botanical gardens. That's the fat capital, no? Give them a fat man, bring in a lady saw. Don't get that. Bring in a lady saw, boy, and go there and dance up and thing, and they get wherever the wall. So that's die down itself. But watch it for themselves. Watch it for themselves. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Walter Maloney. Now, Comrade Walter Maloney is tell it like it is. He's give Barbadians the truth. He tells you the full picture of what's going on, both in the public sector and private with respect to labor relations in Barbados. So, Barbadians, open your eyes, as Tyra would say. Listen carefully. See what's happening around your country. Open your eyes. Now, we've covered quite a bit this evening here in St. Lucie, and the wind's still blowing nice and cool. I don't get this in St. James. So now we bring it to our comrade president, who I'm sure has a lot to share, but I'm sure he'll zone in on a few issues to make sure that he covers things that Barbadians have been coming to him about, that have been coming to the party about, that they're concerned about, that they want answers from, because there is so much going on in Barbados, and Barbadians are suffering in so many different ways because of this administration. So let's give a hand and rise for our president, Comrade Ronnie Yearwood.
Good night, everyone. Firstly, let me apologize for my voice. My sinuses and allergies somehow are killing me at the moment. So if you hear me snuffling and sneezing a little bit, I'm really, really sorry. And I hope the St. Peter wind, down here would clear it up a little bit. St. Lucie wind, sorry, you see what I tell you? You people can put me out of St. Lucie. No, I am always glad to be here. I think when I first, this is a little chance to reflect. When I first ran for presidency and I'd won, St. Lucie was one of the first branches that I spoke to. And I remember having this big conversation. This is way before the People's House. And I remember having this really big conversation about where Barbados is and where it should go. And it is interesting that we are back here because things have a way of coming full circle, that we're back here tonight essentially trying to have that conversation about where the country is and where the country needs to go. You know, often in these exercises, it's easy to critique the government. You know, we know what they're doing. We know, can you hear behind there? Is that better? Yeah, we know that the government has issues with, we're going to change the mic. We know that the government, is that better? We know the government has issues with hope housing. We know the government has the issues with the Chinese houses. We know roads are issues, cost of living. All of these things are issues. We could list all of the problems that you're facing. That's the easy job of opposition. What Tyra, what Aldwin, what Walter, what Faith, and what Pearson demonstrated this evening is something much more difficult. That is the job of coming to you and talking about what they see as the next step, what they see as the solution. And that is something that we have to commend. And that tells you that this is the Democratic Labour Party that is going to be celebrating 69 years this year. This is a mature institution. Now, I want to also thank the St. Lucie branch. I want to thank the St. Andrew branch. I'm not going to start naming people because every time I name people, I get in trouble. Because unintentionally you forget somebody. So I thank the whole branch, all over there, St. Lucie and St. Andrew, for hosting the People's House. I want to say publicly a really special, heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Mrs. Stacia Brown, the wonderful, intelligent, indomitable, powerful. I don't have enough adjectives to describe Stacia. And Stacia has been a powerhouse and a pillar in the revival of the Democratic Labour Party. And she deserves all of the gratitude and praise that everyone can muster. You may not see her all the time, but you're hearing her and seeing her now. And often we are not very good in this party, and let's be honest, at showering people with their praises when they're in front of our faces. And I make a habit of doing it. And we have to get better at thanking our people for the work that they do. This party is not standing for lack of effort. The amount of effort to keep a political party going. Do not underestimate what the General Secretary every day turns up to George Street to do. And the staff in that office, your own Sandra, Felicia, Bonita, Michael, they all, every day, Jabari, they turn up to do the job to keep this engine of this party running. That takes a lot of effort and a lot of commitment. And it's something that you don't necessarily see because you will just see the output here. You will see People's House. You just see this organized, it's streaming, you see a theme, you see organized people, speakers with notes and ideas. These things don't just happen. This is how hard work, and this is to demonstrate to you that we are behaving and starting to move as a government in waiting. We're not an opposition, we are a government in waiting. And it is time that we walk into that role and we grow into that role because that is what is being expected of us. Because someday, some of these people sitting on this panel may be responsible for sports and youth. So you need to understand what they're saying now. You need to understand that the things that they're saying are real commitments and they're not false promises like the 15 mini stadia or whatever they were going to build. You need to understand the thinking around Elder Care that was articulated here with such care and precision this evening. You need to understand the ideas circulating around labor and how this party is going to think about labor and the treatment of people with dignity. You need to understand how individual community activists may be trying to articulate projects on their own, and how does a government support a person going up there and saying, you know what, I have a way to bring cheap electricity to the people of St. Lucie, or the development of community centers that's not government funded. How do we support those initiatives? All that is Democratic Labour Party thinking. This party has always been at the vanguard, in the forefront of change and development in this country. And we need to embrace that. We need to remind ourselves daily of that. We need to tell the story of the Democratic Labour Party. And let us be real, we're not good at it. We've been bad at it for a number of years. We're not good at it in 2018. We're not good at it in 2022. We have to become good at it again. We have to tell our story, because there is a story to tell. Not just a story of free education and all the things. Fine, we know that. There's a story to tell of the Democratic Labour Party in terms of the economic reforms that were tried, in terms of the fact of what happened in the 90s, in terms of what David tried to do before his untimely death. There is a story of this party, even in the last 10 years that the government likes to malign. We know that this party was faced with one of the worst economic crises the globe has ever seen, but managed to produce and build schools, managed to produce and build houses, managed to produce and provide employment. All of these are the stories of the Democratic Labour Party. Managed to develop a youth policy, managed to develop sports policy, not just the policies, but the plan. Managed to develop one of the most comprehensive, progressive energy policies that this government just took up and repackaged. All of that is the work of the Democratic Labour Party. Managed to create a program to intervene in families that were at risk, to move them from a cycle of poverty and underdevelopment to make them successful individuals in this country. Again, that is Steve, the General Secretary here. All of that managed to get this country UNESCO World Heritage listing, which is probably under threat because of the same projects that they're now doing in town so indiscriminately, not respecting the history that should be protected. All of these were things done on the Democratic Labour Party. What I want to do tonight, and I want to talk to you, I'm going to talk about the Auditor General's report. We can share some lashes and things like that. But I also want to have a serious discussion with you about, and I want your questions, your interactions on this, because I've been thinking about this a lot recently. What do you see for Barbados? It's okay for me to articulate a vision and I can tell you all the things, but I want to understand, how do you see Barbados developing? What does this country need to look like for you to have a good, sustainable life for yourself and your families? What are the things that you believe that a government should provide? What are the things that you think that you need to do for yourself? What are the things that you think that you can partner with a government to do? And overall, how do you see this country in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years? Because what I've realized is that often, and we are guilty of it, parties and governments do not ever ask people what they want. We just assume that you want a new community center. But suppose we come and say, I want a community center because I don't go to the community center. Actually, I need you to improve my Wi-Fi so that I can connect with the homework program, because the lessons teacher, you don't got to go to his house no more, and everybody in village doing it, but he just teaching me online on a weekend. So I just need really good Wi-Fi, and I don't need a new community center per se. Why would we assume that you need a new community center? We build some half building, as this government would do, put a fence around it, call it a new mini stadia, and say, yes, take box stick, and you're supposed to clap. But you might not want that. You may want a farm program. You may want a work program. You may want an internship program. When is the last time a government or a political party came to you and said, what do you want? Not what we think you want, not what we think is good for you. What do you, the people of St. Lucie and St. Andrew and by extension, the people of Barbados, want of the Democratic Labour Party? What do you want us as a government to do? Of course we have our ideas. We've talked about them. Of course we know what we're going to try to do for you. But at the end of the day, this project that we're going to do, this thing called Barbados, it can only work if you are full partners in it. It can only work if you also share in the vision. If we come here, we articulate this beautiful vision, print a 100-page covenant. How many pages the covenant had? 200? I don't even know. A covenant, a hope, as the Barbados Labour Party did. You know, we will do this, and the country will be great, and we will articulate, and Barbadians will be confident people, and there will be a new Barbadian. What does any of that mean? What does that actually mean for your daily living? You know, the government can tell you 4% in growth. Debt is down. How is debt down 4% in growth, but you can't get water in St. Lucie or it's still brown? Your roads are not working. The same for St. Andrew. The schools aren't working. The reality is there's a disconnect between the view of what the government thinks is good for you and what is actually good for you. Your life is not measured in GDP. Your life is not measured by the government passing 10 IMF tests and the BERT program. You really care what's going on in the BERT program? Your government is not measured by the fact the government issuing bonds that you're going to take up because they thief your money last time and you ain't going to allow them to thief it the second time. Your life is not measured in the government going, flying hither, thither, signing up to all kind of international agreements and new ways of expressions of forms of what life is supposed to be and articulation of human sexuality, all of these things. Your life is not measured by a government that invades school students at Spring School, still has yet to apologize to the parents and the countries and correct it with a report. I thought I had a report. The air quality at Leicester Vaughan. All of these, you know, what matters to you? That is what is important. And my question, when is the last time anybody asks you? It's like when you're in a relationship, or you're dating for a long time, when's the last time somebody turned to you and said, what do you want? What do you really want for this country? What do you want of a Democratic Labour Party government? And what do you need to make your life successful and to make your life good? Because it's easy for me to come here, curse at the government, me ain't doing this, me ain't doing that. But you know, let me tell you something. At the end of the day, you really think that me and Motley can get hurt by it? Let me be realistic. Unbothered. You think she bothered? Look at the way the Prime Minister behaves. Does that look like a woman who does really care what you say? Or how many times you curse she on brass stats? How many? Unbothered. So what we need to do is focus on who? Us. Because if you cannot care about us, we have to care about ourselves and find the solutions that will work for us. I see people, all these WhatsApps, the Prime Minister doing this body doing that. That's all he's here. But at the end of the day, how does that get us to a better Barbados? How does that increase your pensions? How does that help the fact that the government double taxes you on your pensions? Where is the discussion on that for the elders in St. Lucie and St. Andrew in Barbados? How does that help you to get a new school? I just passed the school there, the Ignatius Bar. That grass tall as my waist. When is the last time anybody cut the grass? And that's what students are supposed to play? How can you hold activities there? You come down here, you can hardly get Wi-Fi. You can hardly get Wi-Fi in St. Andrew as well in St. Joseph and some of these rural parishes. The moment you literally pass Spikestown, it's literally become a dead zone. Far less Wi-Fi, so this can't even pick up the radio. How do we improve access and Wi-Fi capability? Because we don't even realize we are creeping into rural Wi-Fi poverty in this country. People laugh at it and we pass it off. But when you get into certain, you cannot get any kind of Wi-Fi in these areas. Nothing works. And you say, well, you know, man, we in St. Lucie, we in St. Andrew. No, that's how it is. It shouldn't be. Where is the government plan to improve those things for you? So my question is, what do you want for your life? What does the good life look like for the people of St. Andrew and the people of St. Lucie? Because we can pass all the IMF tests, we can do all the things that we want. But you know the ultimate test that we need to pass? The people's test. We need to pass your tests. That is what this Democratic Labour Party has to be committed to. Passing not the test of the IMF, not the test of the rating agencies, not the test of the IADB, not the test of any BBBDB or whatever bank name is. The test has to be the people's test. The test that tells us what you want, and then we are supposed to go and figure it out. So when you tell us that you want better Wi-Fi, our solution, go and figure it out. When you tell us that you need more jobs and access to agricultural land and better water in St. Lucie that the feed program is not provided, our job is supposed to go and figure it out. When you tell us that there's scores of young people sitting on the block and they need engagement, our job is to figure out how to get them off the block. And that is it. When is the last time anybody actually had those conversations with you? And here Paris speaks. And the other thing that they used to do before, rubbing shoulders, or whatever they used to do. Because those are not conversations. You know, you may think that we started this People's House thing lightly, or we call it People's House because we're looking for a slogan. No, it is not. We actually want to listen to you. And we've been taking notes over the series of these programs because we are really trying to drill down on what is important for you so that when we come out with these ideas, that they're the things that you actually want. Not a 200-page manifesto with all kind of things and pretty pictures and all kind of slogans, but really none of it matters to you. Because your life is still the same. There are people in St. Lucie that tell you that the road that they used to drive on in St. Andrew looks the same way that it looked when they were a young boy or when they were a young girl and going to school. There are people that remember the same school hall, actually could go back to some of these schools and find their desk and their chair, and they are retired. That's scary. There were two, but that's the same desk and the chair that I used to sit on in nursery. And as a fact, y'all laugh, but you know it's true. You can go back and find the same chalkboards, the same things. How is that right in Barbados in 2024 when we claim to have a $14 billion economy? Billions of dollars flowing all about the place. Where are they flowing to? Because they may flow into us. So that means that our model of development, our model of thinking is flawed. And how do we make it right? How do we make your dreams real? What is your aspiration? Do we want to look like Miami? In my view, no. We don't want to look like a small Miami. We want to maintain the Barbadian way of life, the Barbadian way of living. Do you want to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week? Who want to work like that? But you still have to work to be productive. How do we find the balance that you can work to get the money that you need to, but also enjoy the quality of life that you also need to? These are the serious questions. How do you have enough to be able to take care of your elderly parent or your grandparent and still survive, sustain yourself and raise your family? These are the serious things that our government got to be dealing with. Not kind of trying to fool me with all sorts of concerts and free this and that and that and that and that. And we know some people can go to them. Because why not? They can go. They can go. And some people may take a little money to vote. Because what else is there when the opportunities are so limited? When your government has beaten you down into the ground and beaten the will out of you. A government that is supposed to actually uplift you, to make you better, to make you want to be better, is taking away the things that should make you better. You know, and in all of this, how is the Democratic Labour Party and what is the role the Democratic Labour Party is supposed to play? What is the purpose of the Democratic Labour Party? Yes, we can wear the shirts, we can wear the colors, we can sing the songs, them's now, them's forever, sweep them out, remember that? We can get the brooms, we can do all of the things. But what do you want of your party? Because this is your party, you know. I was elected your leader, Therefore, I have to serve you. My mandate is to you. If you tell me, Mr. President, I don't like what you're doing, you know what I gotta do? And when it's called me regular, so I say, I just get, Mr. President, I like what you're doing, but I take both. You know what I gotta do? I have to listen, process it, and make it right. Because if you were in a government and you call me up, you know what I gotta do? Listen, process it, and make it right. So you gotta start with the good habits. Because the mandate that we bear, all the officers of this party, we bear it because of you. We didn't put ourselves here. You decided that that man, Mr. Steve Blackett, or there, Mr. Smooth, was the best man for General Secretary. And you told him, go and do the job of the General Secretary. And the day that you think he ain't doing the job, what are you going to do with it? You're going to vote him out. Or you going to curse him first? Same with me. But we have that mandate to carry, and we intend to carry it. Now, so when I ask you, what do you want of this party? That is a serious searching question, because this party has a role, this party has to serve you. I could have come here tonight, get enough claps, curse at the government, lash, 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 lash. But there's only so much that will do. Because at the end of the day, if we and when we become government, I can't run a government on slash, slash, slash. You know what I gotta run a government on? Commitment from you and ideas from all of these bright people that we're surrounded by to make this country work. Because this country is in deep trouble. Make no mistake about that. $14 billion in debt, about $6 billion in foreign, because we're increasing foreign debt, so we gotta pay that back all in the US. We're not earning enough. The tourism industry is not back to where it needs to be. So the questions that you have to start asking, and don't be frightened to ask really hard questions. Well, what do the Democratic Party gonna do? How we can get out of this hole? What are the ideas to make Barbados better? How do I stem the fact that all of our nurses are going to see overseas and the teachers starting to drift out? All of the talent is going to the UK, to the US, all of these people. We train them here. We spend $500 million. You know what's $500 million on education? Every year. And therefore, in effect, a small country like Barbados is subsidizing the development of the US and the UK and Canada. Countries that have 2% and 3% of their GDP on arms. They spend 2 to 3% of their GDP on weapons. All kind of weapons. That's billions of dollars. And little Barbados, we taking $500 million a year to teach and train and educate Barbadians, to then let them go and send, to go and support and teach Canadians, Americans, and British people. That is literally the system. How can you not want more than a perpetuation of colonialism and underdevelopment than that? That we are literally supporting the country that robbed we, and then, you know what he's going to do? Then we're going to borrow loans for the same people to pay for the same education, to do the cycle all wrong. That is what we are doing. Madness. Think about your country, this is what's happening. All these people are educating, washing out, and we are paying for it. So you are paying for America. You paying for them to drive around in gas-guzzling SUVs and eat and do what they want. You paying, literally, you are paying for the wars that some of these people are fighting. Because we, our smart people, are leaving to go there to work. And we don't get nothing back from it. So if you're in $500 million, you get up, you go away, even if you leave at primary, that's still a substantive amount of investment. Secondary, you're not paying taxes in Barbados. Yes, there's some remittances, but we're not making in here that investment. That return gone. They make it on an investment that they did not put any capital into. And they're reaping all the benefits. I know insult to anybody, but then you return to Barbados in your 70s or later on, elderly, on a system that you did not necessarily invest in, but can't always all the time support you? These are serious questions that we have to answer. And stop playing the politics and the one want to talk about these things. How do we support the fact that we have an aging population? Is it 25% now? It was 25% of the country. And then by 2050, it's going to be 30% of the people will be above the age of 60. How do we support that? And then you add the brain drain on top of that. How it gonna work? And then we got 33% poverty. So how are you gonna support somebody when you can't even support yourself? And there's no replenishing of the population because nobody getting children because you can't afford them. So what is happening to Barbadian society? If we continue on this trajectory, will there be a Barbados? We're just bleeding out. But nobody seems to want to address that. A lot of grandstanding and pontificating and this and that and that's all is here. Everywhere. When you turn around and read and listen to any government minister, and that's all in my ears, that's all is here. Because you're thinking these people actually are not serious. They do not understand what is facing this country. They do not understand the crisis in health, the crisis in elderly care, the crisis in the brain drain, the crisis of debt, education, all of these. And I'm not telling things to scare you, but I'm telling you these are the things that a Democratic Labour Party will have to fix. These are the challenges that we are going to face. And as you can see from tonight, we didn't come here empty-handed. We came here because we can talk to you about some of the solutions and the things that can work. People just stop, don't get into the solutions. But really, look at how they're running. You really think that they can implement anything that we tell them? You really think they can get do? It doesn't matter. It does. I tell you right now, it does not matter because they can't get it do. They can't get it do. And if they could get it do, they would have done it. If they could have fixed the bus crisis, they would have fixed it. But it ain't fixed. If they could have fixed the road issue and road repair, it would have got fixed. Don't let them fool you. If they could have built those houses, they would have been built. Who wants a $23 million overrun? And they're going to come and say, the project ain't that bad. Really? Really, Dwight Sutherland? Like, what universe are you living on? You read the Auditor General's report? Now, let me share a little lashes, because you got to move from one to the other. So the Auditor General did a 54-page report. And basically, it is one of the biggest indictments on a minister and a department, particularly the minister, that I have seen in a long time. And let me tell you the excuses that Dwight Sutherland gave. So, $23 million in cost overruns. How does a project go over by $23 million? We're not talking about $500,000, $20,000, $10,000, $23 million. And as my brother here said, only 20% complete. $23 million overrun and 20% complete. Well, how? And still, if you're overrun by $23 million, that's schools that didn't get built. That is money that was not put into Tyra's sports program. That is money that was not put into elderly care. That is money that did not build the community center. Because $23 million can do a lot of things. $23 million could do nothing. You could have probably built 23 community centers at $1 million each. Like, proper, nice, decent. It's not over the top, but you could have do that. You could have built schools. You could have done a whole new school, at least 2 of them. I would say maybe about 3. Polyclinic could have got an X-ray machine. The MRI, the mammogram machine that was required at QH, and they still didn't get a new one yet to deal with breast cancer screening. But you can spend $23 million in cost overrun for Chinese houses, prefab houses, that you were warned about. So this is the other thing that gets me. And this is why it is important that things like People's House, as I said, do not take this project lightly. There's a reason we are doing this, because we have to I want these shadow ministers to get used to listening to the public and taking the lashes and taking them in a mature way and understanding, because you do not want the kind of behavior that is being exhibited by this government to be exhibited by this party. No. Because how do you spend that kind of money? No apology. You come and say, well, it's fine. No apology. You continue on your merry way with the same project. You were warned about the project, which tells me you don't listen to your experts. The Barbados Association of Professional Engineers warned them. I have heard some kind of idiocy from people talking about, oh, you know, they only now realize that the project was bad. At the beginning, everybody was for it. I was like, no. Don't try to rewrite history. When that project started, I remember the head of the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers questioning the money, questioning how it's going to work, questioning the timeline, questioning why there's no local labor, etc. All of these things. All of the things that the Auditor General report then talks about. So it's not like you were not warned, you were told. How? So let me do something here. The minister says, and these are his excuses for it, he says, he blamed it on the adjustment in the scope of work for the housing. This is why it didn't happen. Unplanned labor costs, unforeseen legal complications. He said labor was an issue because of the urgency of the project. And initially they had to utilize Chinese labor, but this failed because they couldn't get work permits and visas. But who does control the work permits and the visas? How? So if you count that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 central excuses. So basically that is $4.5 million per excuse. $4.5 million for every excuse that he came up with for a project that had a $23 million overrun. This is what we're faced with. And at 54 million, because originally it was only cost about $20 million, but it doubled. And I think by the time it ain't done yet, so I don't want to, so we're looking for more money going into that project. But the question that you have a right to demand and to ask of the Democratic Labour Party is, how would the Democratic Labour Party do better? Because I could get here and tell you all this. You could walk away feeling good. Man, you get a licks, man, run good. But how does a Democratic Labour Party government do better? And I can tell you how we can do better. We will do better by doing the things that Brother Maloney talked about. Strengthening the Auditor General. We will do better by giving civil servants back their dignity and their respectability and the procedures of how it runs. Because when you are advised, you are to take that advice on board and weigh the consequences seriously. That is how we will do better. We will do better by ensuring that there are opportunities and chances for contractors to be able to do the work, and we will initiate and forward the funds that they need, because we know every small contractor can't roll out $100 million to start a project. Sometimes they need that little mobilization fee, and we will do it. I've heard people say, oh, Ronnie, you can't do the mobilization fee. Man, the man can take it and go and buy a Mercedes, and you can see 3 Mercedes in front. They can go to Miami shopping. So you are telling me, and every time that I say something, I find that our people say something, the first thing is, man, you can't do that because this boy can do that. Think about it. You can hold back the development of a whole country because of, my God, one person or two that can try to do something foolish. So 1 or 2 contractors might decide to take the money that we mobilize to them, not buy the material, but go and buy a car and take trips to Miami. So that should be a reason that you cannot be progressive to help small contractors to do the things that they need to do. No, it can't be right. There's no way that a Democratic Labour Party is going to hold back progressive programs because 1 or 2 people will try to abuse that program. A country can't work like that. It can't function. We have to get serious about the country that we want. And we have to make a collective decision about that. What do we, and I want us to discuss this tonight, what do we want Barbados to look like, to feel like, to sound like? Because I think that is what worries me the most, that the country that we are seeing developing is not the Barbados that we want. This is not the country that we all feel comfortable in. This is not the country, the goals and the values and the things that we're used to. And I'm not saying everything about Barbados in the old days or now is right. That is not it either. But I am sure you understand there's a feeling that our country is slipping away from us. That we don't own this country anymore. That we fought, we had our independence, we did everything that we were supposed to do as people. We excelled. We created some of the best minds, some of the best systems. And now, at this point in our development, it feels like the country that we care about, that we treasure, it feels like we are being sold up the river by our own very people. The government that shouldn't sell us up the river, that should be there to protect, stand in the breach and say, no, this is not good for Barbados. I will not have you do this to my country. To say no to that development that is going to destroy the Six Mins fishing village. To say no to projects that we know will hurt, to the Joes River project. That this party in the early days articulated on. We were one of the first people that went down there. I walked the riverbed because I wanted to understand. Alwyn was there with me too, so he knows it's true. Because we wanted to understand the ramifications of this project. Not just from sitting in a room, not just from looking at some papers. I walked it, and if that project proceeds the way that it's proceeding, you will not have access to Joes River. And whether you go down there or not, damn it, because Joes River is something that belongs to all of us. That viewpoint should be yours. It has been yours. Then you got the other hook point that they're trying to build something on now. That is not right. But you can do a project cost overrun for $23 million for houses for hurricane victims that they've not yet received. But you are telling me that you cannot acquire land and protect for the people of Barbados that are points of public interest and historical relevance, things that matter to us. This was a government, the same Barbados Party government. Y'all remember them passed a bill to protect John Moore Shop? Y'all, I don't forget now, you know. See this brain? Just don't forget now. Y'all remember that bill? But you would get all kind of hemming and hawing about passing a bill to protect Joes River. You could go and protect a rum shop because you said a rum shop is part of the fabric and the patrimony, and it is something that all Barbadians should enjoy, and that piece of land at John Moore cannot be developed or sold in any other way. But you cannot pass a bill to say the same thing about Joes River or that Bathsheba coastline, that view. That should be a protected view all across there. Why are we allowing people to take the things that are relevant to us? And you want to go up in Dover and build a marina? And push down the church, push down everything. For what? Take up the land. To what end are we doing this? What kind of who does this benefit when we build these things? Are we just going to be maids and cleaners? And what do we want for our people? What do we want for them? When we build all of these things, we've spent $500 million on education. We send our kids to school. And this is not degrading any jobs, but if you send to school to do something, to take yourself and your family to a different space, and then the government does not have the ability to provide you with the opportunities that you need to do better, what's the point then? And you get young people that I would come and tell me, Ronnie, well, I know all this independence thing that all y'all talking about don't matter. Or is it I am voting because none of this thing will change? And tell me, what sovereignty we got? Please. You think there's such a generational divide. And y'all don't recognize young people in some instances do not care about the things that independence, y'all holding on to this independence and cricket and Barbie Excel. Excel what? They can't get jobs. They can't get a mortgage. They cannot live any of their dreams. They have no access to anything. And somebody telling you about independence? And when they question independence, our older generation getting upset. They may know how hard we work. That's not it. That is not it. Because the Barbados that you have worked and experienced and that you want is not the Barbados that they are experiencing. No. They're two different things. And the question is, how and why are we here? And we can heap a lot of the blame on this current government because she convinced a lot of people that she had the answers. And we can also recognize that we have to take responsibility to get us out of this. And part of that means that you gotta go out there and do what? Vote. You have to go and vote. I hear people talking about, oh, another 30, zero in them. What are you talking about? Something would have to be seriously broken in you to believe that 30-0 again would be good for this country. Despite whatever you feel about the Democratic Labour Party, what mentality, what has been put in your mind that you could believe that that is something good for this country? That helps Barbados to become the progressive society that it needs to become. That provides you with the chances to make your life better. How? And when I hear people saying these things, I just look at sometimes I'm like, you cannot be serious. There's no way that you could be serious. This country requires the Democratic Labour Party. That doesn't, let me explain that. Because I was in St. Lucia last night. UWP celebrated 60 years. And one of the things that I talked about when I addressed the anniversary celebrations is that there is no God-given right that the UWP had to continue to exist for 60 years. So let me tell you all straight. There is no God-given right that the Democratic Labour Party had to exist for 69 years and it's going to be 70 last year. The only reason, the very reason that the UWP survived for 60 and we are going to be 70 is because of you. This party, parties just die. Y'all forget this, you know. You can't know your history. Political parties in the Caribbean have come and gone. And some of y'all would have remembered the early articulations of them. They can die. And they die if the people don't want them anymore. The people of this country obviously want the Democratic Labour Party to do better. We have to. We can harp on, we can talk about this, we can say whose fault it was. But important. Those things are not important. You know what's important? The test that you want, the people's test, not the IMF, not even the Democratic Labour Party's test, because we are only here to serve. That is the only job that we gotta do. We have to serve, ensure that the things that you want, we can provide for you. They didn't announce this, you know. We was make this thing real complex. All kind of graphs and charts and fancy terms and development models and this and regression and this and blah, blah, and this and that, and bringing consultants by the boatload. A consultant to tell you that Barbadians ain't happy? A consultant to tell you that the education system you need a consultant to tell you that? A consultant to tell you that things don't work in this country the way that they should work? A consultant to tell you that the environment is being degraded? You need consultants to tell you the things that we know? We know that they ain't working. What you need is to articulate how you are going to, that's the job of a government, how you going to fix them. And if you can't do it, allow us, as you can see here, we can vacate it and we can articulate it for you. Because that is the job of us. That is the job of a government in waiting. I'm going to wrap up soon because I'm sure Stacey is there. I can see her looking at me, corner of my head. And I want to leave you with something. And I told you that this speech was going to be a little bit different. And I want you to think about how we measure our success as a party. How do we measure our success as a country? And how do you measure your success as a person? What is important for you to determine that you are successful? What is important for you to determine that Barbados is successful? And what is important for you to determine that this party as an institution that is going to be 70 years next year? That's a little bit of time. 70 years is a lot of institutional memory, a lot of policy, a lot of programs. 70 years. That's a long time. The party, in some ways, the party is older than the independence of the country. Think about that. The party was there before the independence of the country. We've been around. We were there at the founding. We were there before the founding. We were there at the founding. We were there through the periods, the good, the bad, everything. And we're still here. We've experienced all sorts in this party. But then you, all of us, and that includes me, we have to tell ourselves, what do we want the Democratic Labour Party to do in the next 70-year cycle? We know what we've done in this last 70-year period. Now, what do we want us to do in the next 70 years to make Barbados a place worthy of living in? To make Barbados a place that is good for you and for me. And some of us in this room are young enough that they're likely going to be here for the 100th anniversary of this party. Start thinking about these things. Some of the people in this room long enough, they will remember this, and they're going to say, well, yes, he talked about it. I might be dead, give or take. But they're young enough, there are people in this room young enough that will be here to celebrate the 100th anniversary. That's only 30 years away. That's a long time. Of the Democrat. Think about the 100th anniversary. That's a human, that's a half-life. That's nothing. And therefore, we have to start thinking, what do we want this party to do, if you like, for the next 30 years? And what do we want this party to do for this country? Because when we are approaching that 100-year mark, that's a serious mark. You know, there's a political party that's 100 years old. You've seen a whole cycle. You've been there. Whole lives pass. And you were at that founding and that progress. So tonight, I want you to reflect on what you want for your country, what you want for your party, and how together that we can build that new life, that we can build that better Barbados for all of us. Thank you very much.
All right, so Mr. President had a lot of questions tonight. And I think I'll give the microphone to Walter because you have an update for us. Do you have an update? Okay.
I was just told that the Leicester Vaughan school was asked that the auxiliary staff report to work tomorrow. The teachers can come if they wanted, that is voluntary. But I don't understand that, because are you saying to me that the auxiliary staff is beneath or below or above the teachers? Their lives doesn't matter? Every teacher, you're telling the teachers they don't have to come to work. But the auxiliary staff, well, we know the auxiliary staff is there. It is okay for them to come. Well, I would hope that whoever the unions are, or whoever represent them, would also instruct them not going to win. You understand? Their lives are important as well too. But this is you see, I was trying to tell you. This is a government that every day shows to its people that they don't care about it. But still, there's still got people in this society that clamoring on and saying, this person is the best thing since sliced bread. A caring government would not ask anybody, you don't single out anybody, would not ask anyone to come into an environment that's injurious to the health. That's clear. So I would expect that the auxiliary staff tomorrow, and they will tell you, don't go nowhere. If it ain't good for them, it can't be good for you.
All right. So I hope people who know the people that bless Devon, tell them don't go to work tomorrow. All right. So we've had a lot of recommendations, a lot of questions, and now we turn it to our audience who's here tonight. We have an audience online too, but for those who are here tonight, we have a whole panel of people who gave y'all information for the last 2, 3, 4 hours. Now, I'm sure St. Lucie was really glad to have us. So, and I see even my chair here from St. James, who always telling me he was a member of this party from 1975. I wasn't born yet. But anyone have any questions for the president? Go ahead. Mr. Graves.
Yes, Mr. President, I heard you spoke about the education system. Yesterday, I went to the supermarket, and it hurt me. I saw a young girl packing the shelves. I ain't got no problem with packing shelves. She went to school at Queen's College, and she went into sixth form. She probably just done sixth form. My view is that some person that went to school at Queen's College and just finished sixth form, that would mean that that body would have to have some sort of good qualifications. And I know she's from a poor family. I didn't say, she spoke to me very well and anything, but I am saying to you that, we talk about what, when a person get educated like that and there's no opportunity for these type of persons, right? And that is something that I'm very bothered about. As a matter of fact, I spoke to some person already about this possibility of finding a job for this person. I haven't spoken to her mother, to her or anything like that. I'm just looking at the possibility of getting something better for this child to do. So those are the type of things that we have in this country.
Thank you. That is a very good point. What we're faced with is really the fact that the education levels and skills that we're developing are not matching or commensurate to the jobs that are available. So we have to align the economy with the jobs. And if we're fair, for years people have talked about this. They talk about this till the cows come home, but nobody's doing anything about it. We talk about how we want to be a STEM country, but we keep training folks in social sciences. Well, you can't be STEM if you keep doing social sciences. If you want to be STEM, you got to do more maths and tech and physics and chemistry and those kinds of subjects. So there is right now a misalignment between what we train and send school people to do and what the actual jobs that are available. Furthermore, the jobs that the kids born today will do don't even exist yet. So what we really have to do is design an education system that just gives them critical thinking skills, really, because they're going to be doing things that we didn't even imagine our jobs were available. And some of the jobs that are currently, that we do, are not going to be available anymore. They're just going to be gone. They'll become obsolete. They will become obsolete. So how do you provide for people in a small space, 250,000 people in Barbados, 100 and something thousand in St. Lucia, maybe below 100 in Dominica, a spattering someplace else. All of these countries trying to attain independence, and if some things we're realistic, I can talk harsh things tonight maybe. Some things you're like, are we pretending to be a real country? Like really? when you all these trappings of a country and all this grandstanding and this pomp and pageantry and this title and sir and that, and for what? What does that get us as a people? All of these things for 250,000 people, and we still can't get efficiencies within the system? But you got a chief of this and a head of this and a director of this and a minister of this and a da-da-da-da-da-da. All of this structure to manage 250,000 people at 166 square miles, and we still not doing it properly. So something got to give. Something has to give. How then do we spend $500 million, send people to school, and then they can't find jobs to match the skills that they have? Something has to be wrong when that is what the system is doing to us. How do we have situations where children, and this is a pet area of mine, children at the age of 5 and 6 or 7 cannot read in Barbados? We spend $500 million, but they can't read. They cannot read. These are facts. They can't read, they can't think, they can't comprehend, and then be like, oh, the kids are violent. But obviously, because if you can't read, you can't express, control your emotions, what do you think, how do you think that can come out? That's the output. That's going to be the outlet for it. So we have a lot of serious soul searching to do in Barbados, and come to a point to decide what, I keep saying it, and I start talking about it all the time till y'all gonna get sick of me. What do we want Barbados to look like? What do we want our country to feel like? What do we want for ourselves? Is our aspiration to be a small Miami? I might not like it, but if that's what the majority want, we've got to find a way. Is our aspiration to be Barbados with a comfortable lifestyle, but not betraying the things that matter to us, like family and community and church and all the different things, and providing for one another? If that's what we want, that's how we will go for. But we have to decide that, because once we decide that, all the other things, that very thing you're talking about, Morgan, that mismatch of skills, will take care of themselves. A big problem in this country right now is that we just keep throwing things at the wall, hoping something will stick, hoping for something to turn up, because we have not decided what we want for this country. We ain't got the vision. Let me be realistic. There's been no clear articulation of what this country is supposed to mean for us. So you're going to build a high-rise there. You're going to build a 10-story building along the south coast that can block out more the windows to the sea. You're going to create spaces that essentially cut people off from the water. We don't have private beaches, but by the way that you're building the structures, they become private by design. All of these are things. And we have to decide, is this the country we want to live in? If the answer is no, then we have to decide, how do we get the country that we want to live in? And that depends on you. If you're in a parliament, there will only be what? 26? We want 20, 25. Give them 5. 25 will be. 5 of them. But that's only at the government level. But the country itself, the running, is dependent on you. The same way that the party is. Steve and I are only the elected leadership of the party, but it can work if you guys don't turn up for branch meetings that you've done in your numbers to there, if you don't come out to the views, if you don't submit resolutions for conference, if you don't tell Steve and me, but we want you to try this, do that, put that, it doesn't work. It can only work because of you. So when you elect and put people in place, do not give over all your power to them. Keep your hand on that wheel to demand the things that you think are good for you and your people. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. You know, we looking at tourism. Just up the road at Pike Corner, not far from here, they have a beach called Little Bay. We call it Little Bay Beach. One of the most beautiful beaches in this island. And I remember I was getting a tour, a taxi driver was carrying me for a tour because I didn't want to take any chances where it was going. And he told me he knows all the bathroom stops in Barbados. Regularly, on a daily basis then, you see tourists. Suddenly you go and see about 30 or 40 tourists, and even more, up at that Little Bay Beach. The local people go there and bathe and so on. There's no bathroom facilities there. They're talking about how I want to see the thing develop. That is how I would like to see this, how I would like to see it for the country. I like to see Little Bay develop, not build a lot of hotels and things on it, but at least a bathroom stop. But you got tourists come up here, I telling you, and they have to, when they get problems, they have to go to private citizens, residents, and ask a question. And and it's a very good place. And the people they always go in there, and they come at your house to ask you to use the bathroom, and that is not right. And as a matter of fact, only recently, I think because of a shop down the road that have a little bathroom, they might, tourists, taxi driver may carry them down there. But it's a very nice place, Little Bay, and the locals also occupy that bay on a daily basis. They go there and bathe, and that is something they would like to see improvement on.
And that's exactly why meetings like these are important. Because if you're not from St. Lucie, how are you going to know about Little Bay? And if you don't get out your office, get out of, in our case, get out of George Street, come into the community and talk, one of them said, feel like he knows about Little Bay? He probably never even went to Little Bay. But suppose that one of the people here was a minister. This is why the conversation continuous is important, and not a fake conversation, because now we know that one of the articulations and needs for this community is that there have to be restroom facilities in key areas in the community, Little Bay being one. I am sure that there are other spots that we will now be able to identify.
I agree, there are other spots, but Little Bay, I know that's most occupied. I know Pearson might have spoken about Cove Bay, which is a good place too. Yeah. But Little Bay is where the local people could go and bathe. But you can't really go to Cove Bay and bathe. It's a good view, but Little Bay is the place.
Yep. Okay, noted. Got that one.
All right, we have another question. I get to Hiram first because I saw his hand first.
Let me first say good night to all the wonderful members of the Democratic Party.
Good night, yay! Clap for that.
Mr. President, I can start by giving you some greetings from a gentleman. I probably should give you this personally, but my cousin here, Mr. Gray, started out on the area which I want to touch tonight. But I know sometime we were canvassing in Haynesville, and there was a gentleman who was selling some sweet bread, and he gave you one. So he went by me last weekend, and he told me that when I see you, that I should thank you for going at St. Michael North. I know you got some licks for this year, and apologizing for the Democratic Party for non-80% on the university fee. I know some people give you, but he, remember when in Haynesville, he was very vicious about the Democratic Party putting on that 20%. So tell me at that time he had two kids at university, yes. And the 40% that he had to pay was horrendous. So he told me he wanted to thank you for apologizing for that, even though it was not your job to do. But this is the thing that still have him cruel. This morning I was young people's service, and going back to what Mr. Cousin Conway Graves talked about. And they asked me to pray for them. I have one of these jobs that deal with young people. I'm a refrigeration air technician. And I does a lot of training for the young people and so on. It used to be belong, in fact, I'm going to use the word used to because since the Barbados Party is coming to office, the advisory council of that department hasn't functioned, which I'm a part of. But I'm a little concerned in the education system in Barbados as it purports to the young people, especially the young boys. This morning, when I was getting ready for church, there's a young lady that I normally carry to church and so on, and I called her at her house to find out if she was going to church, and his 7-year-old grandson answered the phone, and I asked him, "Wait, the day is going good for you?" He tell me no. I asked him, "Why? I don't want to go to church." And it strikes me that we are living in a society nowadays where our young men have fallen off the wagon. And it concerns me gravely because when I look at the education system that is functioning now, it leaves me to wonder where our young people are going. And since this government is coming to office, the idea seems to be giving out a little facts and so on and partying and keep them happy. I am concerned that we as a government, we need to put together a coalition that would develop some youth policy for young people. I remember I've been 50 years, at the end of this year I'll be working for 50 years in the same job. And I've done hundreds of interviews to getting people to come into my organization. And there was a time when I did interviews that we would have to decide who to left out. Now we can spend a whole week doing interviews into refrigeration air conditioning. Young boys just come out the polytechnic or the skill training program. And you fighting difficulty, you find it really difficult to even hire one of them. And I wonder how people can spend 12, 13 years in school and go to an institution like the Polytechnic, which I attended. And I'm not ashamed, but I left school at 14 years old because I wanted to be refrigeration technician at the Polytechnic when I was 14 years. And I tell people that's the best decision I've ever made in my life. So I am pleading for this party to put some policy in place. This government is in office, I don't think they have the young people's best interests at heart. It's just about how we can get them to vote for them. But I hope that my party will not just concentrate on winning the vote of the young people, but we want to win the hearts and the minds and the soul of the young people. We want young people that are willing to work for what they have. Every time I hear 4 or 5 young men get into some foolish criminal activity, I wonder what is going wrong. When I was growing up, we had leaders. The leadership among our young men seemed to, I don't know, 5 young boys walking on the road and one said, let me interfere with that young girl. And all 5 of them just decide that they can do it. That can happen in my time. At least one person in that group will say, no, that's foolishness. What is your plan for putting together a real workable solution for our young men, prevent them from doing the foolishness that's starting up? It's got so bad in Barbados that every time you hear, I think this is reggae, not reggae. The show that's about to come on stream now. This for years that every time one of these big shows are coming up, you hear all these robberies going on. And I know the young men is only doing it because they want to get fancy clothes and shoes to wear to them big facts. So they're robbing everybody. I want this party to put together something, some educational facilities and so on. Sports, I'm a tradesman. Trades, and don't fool yourself. There are a whole lot of people that went to come here and call you son that don't work for much money. So we need to concentrate on those areas also. Don't mind this government. My granddaughter is very good at athletics. And BSAP, she ran at BSAP twice. She's still on 15 shows. She didn't have the opportunity to go to the rest of this year. She has 2 gold medals and 2 silver medals in the 4 races that she ran at BSAP so far. And she is a sprinter. She ran the 1 and the 2, so you know she got some. She take after me, she got some ability. Yeah, but these people last year we had 1 track function in Barbados, and it takes some horses down on the track to parade. Tell me, you really feel like these people got the young people's interests at heart? And now they're coming out with these stadiums. To me, it's a good idea. But you know what this stadium consists of? Fence around the cricket fields, and that's a stadium. It got to be more than that. So I'm asking Mr. President that we will sit down and put together a real youth policy that will concentrate our young men to keep them out of prison, out of trouble. There are a lot of them that spend these 12, 15 years in school and come out without being able to write or read properly. But I am sure a lot of them can be diverted into sports or, like me, some trade. But we will need to put things in place to make sure that our young men are not kicked out of school because they gave a little bit of trouble at 14 years. We need a whole rework of the way our young people are thinking. And I am expecting my party, because education was one of the foundations of our party. we sort of weakened it when we changed up the system of paying fees at university. But I'm hoping that we can return to that place where the young people in Barbados will realize that this Democratic Party have their interests at heart. I need that policy, please.
All right, thank you very much. I will also let our chair of the youth arm and our shadow minister of youth speak to that. But I would say the crisis among our young men is real. It is something that we have to address. I think one of the ways of doing it is from a holistic approach of intervening in the families, because we cannot only deal with the young persons, but the reality is those young persons go back into a home environment that may also need adjustments to ensure that they're in an environment that they would have a chance to succeed, that they have good housing, that they have food, they have some of the basics that they need to get. So when we're intervening in the lives of the young men, we also have to intervene in the lives of the family. And I think the program that was started under this party was on the right track. That program that the party had under Minister Black at that time, the template was the correct one to follow, because over the years we've done a lot of different programs in this country. We have the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, we had the Youth Corps, we've had the BDS Sports Program, we've had the Youth Service, we've had the Youth Commissioners, one who's now the Minister of Youth but can't get the job due, because he probably never is going to do his job as Youth Commissioner anyway, but that's for other people to pontificate on. We've had all of these programs, but I think the missing thing, and it's a thing that the Democratic Labour Party identified, and one that if we were government we would have to pick up properly again, is that you have to deal with the families. So we were attacking the outcome and the result, but we were not dealing with the underlying issue. This government is that the Democratic Labour Party government is the one that identified that and tried to select those families. And you literally were trying to follow them from the intervention through to a success. You know, maybe someone in that house hadn't worked for 10 years. Why? What, do they need counseling? Are they distressed? Do they need opportunities for jobs? Do they need to go back to school? So I think that's the approach that we would have to take when it comes to dealing with our young men and the crisis that they're facing as well. Because it's not only their crisis, there's also a crisis in terms of our family and our community structures that we have to address if we're going to fix a lot of the issues that we need to fix, the social issues.
Yeah, so we had a couple of those. You mentioned the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, then we had the mainstreaming scheme, and then we also had the one that focused on the at-risk youth, which was the Youth Development Program. So I think it's just a situation of taking over that again and just expanding it and going deeper, because I'm an attorney at law, and a lot of times some of the boys, especially young boys, who are first-time offenders, they are at-risk youth. They don't necessarily commit the crimes because they want to. Sometimes their circumstances force them to do those things, or sometimes it might just be a situation of bad company and having bad influences. So I think if we do something like a Big Brother program where we have male mentors, because I think a lot of the time it is an issue in terms of there is a lack, the father figure. It is missing. And because there's no father figure or positive male role in the familial home, they go and look for it on the streets. And then, you know, they tend to gravitate towards the big man on the block with the gold chains and the wad of cash. When you pull out your money, you got a big stack of cash. And you got all the pretty girls and driving all the fancy cars. So that's things that the youth, then the young boys look up to. So if we can develop a situation where there's a Big Brother program where we have positive male figures and male roles who have, you know, 9-to-5s, who work in the industries, hardworking men, take on some of the youth and speak to them and encourage them and show them that, you know, if you want the big chain, there's different ways to go about it. You don't necessarily have to sell drugs or rob people. If you want the brand name, if you want to pull out the wad of cash, you can still do that. but there's another way to go about it, and it does not have to involve crime. Additionally, I think once again there's a lack of opportunity, not only in the sense that there's not a lot of job opportunities, but job opportunities are limited. There's only a certain set of types of jobs, and we need to look, as I said, sports is one of them. Sports offers career opportunities. We need to dig into the cultural aspect. We don't take arts serious enough. There are a lot of talented musicians, talented artists, spoken word artists, dancers, these type of things. If we can look into a situation where we can provide the framework for them in the infrastructures and the institutions for them to really thrive, then that is something we can look into. And I would speak to this because when I served as director on the BCSI, the Barbados Coalition of Service Industries, this is something we were speaking about. And this is promoting or exporting services and not only products. Oftentimes we talk a lot about exporting products, making things and exporting them, but what about our service? And I remember when I first heard the concept, I was like, but what is exporting a service? And the CEO then, the executive director, she said, you are an attorney at law, right? I said, yes. She said, you have clients from abroad, right? I said, yes. She said, well, you're exporting your services. So once it is that you have something that you can give or grant or offer someone from abroad, then you are essentially exporting your services. And what that does then is it takes away from the cutthroat nature, the competition that we have here locally. Everybody's scrambling for the same pool of people or the same pool of jobs. Instead of doing that, then we can, because we only got used to what, 250,000 people, 290,000 people? How much it is? About 300,000 people. So there's only so much money that can go around. There's only so many plumbers people might need, only so many carpenters people might need, so many lawyers people might need. But if we look further and beyond, and we go into and I think this is where CARICOM comes into play, and we really need to we take a serious look at CARICOM, and I think the new set of leaders to take over, usually the government in waiting, I think the new set of leaders who will shortly become government, I think they have the answers. I really, truly do believe it. Because we need to look at integration and look at the region and really do make the CSME what it was supposed to be. Not just something on paper, but the practical element of it so that we can travel freely and work freely, not only here in Barbados, but regionally, and help our brothers and sisters, and then at the same time also be able to earn a legal income. So that's my 2 cents worth.
All right, thank you so much. Tyra? I'm gonna go right.
Mr. Chairman, Daniel. I want to piggyback on Mr. Graves' first question or what he saw at the supermarket. I'm from St. Andrew, by the way. Henderson's the name. We need to be careful how we see these young people at work. Having a college degree, going to Harrison College, sixth form, packing shelves. He alluded that the family is a little bit poor. So she probably took a Saturday to take a part-time job. Or she's trying to, help out in the house. Or she's just finding something to keep her out of trouble. Could be on the block smoking some weed, So we're going to be looking at those type of things. I mean, I have a 4-year degree. I work in a restaurant, not a restaurant, fast food joint. And I did that to hone in on my management skills so that when I open my business, I will have the knowledge, at least I can put it into play. Then I also was in the military, so that helped my management skills in the Army as well as my personnel skills. So it worked for me. It wasn't because I needed the money. I would have done it for free. But so we need to, and I applaud that young lady, so But if you can get her a job, get her a job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a good intervention. Look at it a different way. I know the young gentleman down here had a question. He was waiting for a while. Experienced.
Good evening. I took some notes of the 6 speakers. Of course, the 2 persons in the corner were more interest for me than the other 4. And they know why. First and foremost, I would advise Pearson to take a better look at that invitation. There's quite a bit of information on those windmills from St. Clement's Church to Datesville. Quite a bit of discussion have taken place. They had quite a few meetings, and I would advise you to look for that information before you commit yourself to anything. Quite a bit was said. Of course, I said quite a bit too. And I would advise you to check your records. I think it should be stated in the Light and Power website, and I advise you to do that. I know we get all concerned about these trips overseas. I have traveled with ministers, and I can give you some fantastic stories, which I will not give, but at the end of the day, you are indoctrinated. You know? So don't be too thinking. Now, my concern is, let me start from where I took my notes. This meeting started 35 minutes late. It started with national anthem, and then we went right into the meeting. And we are talking about their disconnect, and people break down. There was no praise, no invocation. Call it whatever you want to call it. There was nothing. My concern is also that there is a disconnect. What is happening at the branch level and what is happening at the headquarters level, there is a serious disconnect. This is something we need to address. At the end of the day, as I said previously on this floor, regardless of what is planned at headquarters, the smallest component of any organization is its membership. You understand? And we can talk for now till the cows come home, and we don't have the feeling or person's reality. We have a serious problem. This is my reality. This evening, the tank that I have in the back of my yard went dry, and I attempted to get some water. Of course, the water was browner than the shoes I currently have on. And if I delivery walk with this was placed in my mailbox. Barbados Water Authority on the ground in the north. And it says that they have isolated problems. One of the problems are discolored water from the well in Allendales. 2, this is not my, I am no expert in nothing. This is my reality. 2, broken mains. Then 3, the solution, they have started to fix the broken mains from what we call Bird Hill to Tatri Hill. Fixed. 2, they say they have cleaned the well at Allendales. Well cleaned. The problem remains the same. This is the Barbados Water Authority thing. I will not part of it because this is what I'm going to talk about till I die. You understand? This is a booklet that was placed. It was addressed to Philip Jackman, Kayville, 2 Kayvilles, Kayville, St. Lucie. This was placed in my mailbox.
So is that a new? Is that something recent, or is that a what's the date?
It wasn't dated. So it wasn't dated. This was put in sometime last year.
Okay.
You understand? We still have the same problem.
I'll take a copy of it. I'm not gonna. Yeah.
No, but you're not going to get it.
I can take a copy.
Secondly, I heard Pearson talk about Collins Gully, which is a favorite of mine. I pass there maybe 2 or 3 times a day. Collins Gully. A person was murdered down there, and come in October this year, will be 4 years, that a youngster from Pike Corner got washed there in that area. Somebody in their wisdom put up some board as a safety device, which I applaud them. 3 months after, I took pictures. 3 months after, somebody came, persons or person unknown came and carried the board. I passed there today, and I saw what we call 3 sleeping policemen there, which is concrete now. This is in concrete, which means it's a concrete solution. The road is only passable by one vehicle, which tells me you don't need to be Einstein, the Archbishop of Canterbury, or the Pope to know they're not going to fix that road in any hurry. Because once you put up 3 permanent structures, that's it, and the road is eroding and falling away. I want to speak about the mill and wave, because that's what I call it, you see. People call it all sorts of foolish names, right? Mill and pave. I want to call it the mill and wave. If you have driven on those roads are like if they were rolled with a Coke bottle. The asphalt that they have put down is about ½ inch or less than ½ inch, which suggests to me, of course, there are no retaining corners. So eventually what is going to happen, they are going to think, and the waves on the road is going to make the waves bigger. Secondly, what concerns me is that when you pass, I don't know if you're aware of St. Lucie, I know you originate from Boscobel. If you pass Jimmett's Hill, yeah, and of course Chancellor Hill, the waterworks in their wisdom are Reliance of Means, which will pass right through the Mill and Wave Road, which means all that was maybe is to put money in people's pockets, because what's going to happen, that whole road is going to be disrupted once more. And then we thought we have paved roads, we have done this, we have done that. I was trying to get to St. Simon's Church Sunday. There are quite a few percent, 100 people here. And there's no sign in Belle Plaine saying, where's the alternative road to St. Simon's Church? And foolish people went down through Hackett Hall, Hackett's. And I see the road closed. Well, I'm familiar with Hackett's because I worked at Ministry of Agriculture for a number of years. So that's the road I took, and I know where St. Simon's Church is supposed to be. But unfortunately, I ended up not getting there because the road was closed. What I'm saying is that is a small matter not to have adequate signage. But it's a very serious thing. And these things we need to look at. It's okay to get up here and people say, well, the GDP, this and that. What does that mean to Philip Stephen Jackman? It means nothing. I'm not an expert. I may not be in school as much as 1, 2, 3, or 4 people at the table, but at the same time, my reality may be different to what is happening. I hear something talking about, speaking about the sheep. I'm not an expert in sheep, but I work at the Ministry of Agriculture for a number of years. And I know Sedgemoor and Greenland were where we had a gene pool for sheep. Somebody in the wisdom shut down Central Livestock Station. By the way, I work at Central Livestock Station. They shut down that and sent everything to Greenland. They have reduced the number of workers at Greenland. We have some fantastic individuals at Greenland. John Vaughan, who lives, I suspect, some in isolation up in there. Fantastic individual who anybody can speak to, and I dare anybody to rival him when it comes to information on small ruminants. That's what I correct pronunciation. There's nobody in Barbados who is good as John Vaughan. Fantastic individual, and the good thing about him is that he has an affinity to your party.
You talk with the man online and all the.
No, he's a fantastic individual, and we need to be serious if you're talking about agriculture. We need to be serious. We need to look for persons. It's right to take using the younger people. Yes, young people in military terms fight in the training fight. They go to get killed. But at the same time, we need the experience of the older people to advise us, and we need to use these people to the best of our knowledge. And I think this is how we need to do. I'm also concerned of property taxes. This is a thing that I raise part is not taken seriously. You cannot expect a person who would have suffered during their working life to save money to buy a piece of property. And then they turn around and have to pay rent again. Because that's what it is. Because if you're going to buy a property, let's say you buy a house for $350,000, and then somebody can decide that you are going to pay $1,000 every year or more. And then if you, for some unknown reason, cannot afford to pay that tax, your property is going to be sold after you have made that sacrifice. That cannot be right in this world nor the next. Something that need to be addressed anymore. Seriously, no person in Barbados property should be sold for the non-payment taxes. In fact, I would feel that one of the issues that we should be lobbying and campaigning on is either the abolition of property tax or the reduction of property tax. I cannot honestly see how you can justify a person paying that kind of money to buy a property. And of course, you buy that property, you have to buy the input for that property, which is tax. If you are unfortunate to be working, you have to pay a tax. If you're unfortunate to put the money in the bank, you have to pay a withholding tax. So therefore, you're being crucified over and over. You're not only being asked to carry one cross, you're being a martyr for the cause of the government. And I'm saying that this is how we need to address as a party. I am also concerned about, yes, I hear Morgan, or I must call him, because that's what I'm calling all my life, spoke about Little Bay. Well, I live further up the hill. Kobe to me, as I normally tell people, is the next place to heaven. And again, there are no what we call bathroom facilities in those areas. Yes, Little Bay is fantastic. I've taken several pictures of Little Bay. Morgan's Beach, as a person who works in the industry, Morgan's Beach is a fantastic place. There are no facilities up there. You drive straight to you drive straight to that plantation, whole place, and you go around to see one of the most fantastic vistas you can find. There are no facilities up there. This is that we need to address. I understand, yes, there are issues that other people may think. I can only think about St. Lucie, because that's where I live. And although I'm not an expert on anything, I possess a wealth of knowledge in the area where I live. And when I hear people speak about St. Lucie and the research background is not right, I am forced to get up and speak. I cannot speak on the public service, because I'm not an expert on the public service. I worked in public service for 44 years, but I'm not an expert in the public service. I'm an expert on St. Lucie, and in particular, the area where I live, that's graveyard. And I call it the graveyard. You understand? Not a cemetery, it's the graveyard. I call it the graveyard, and I'm proud of where I live. And we need, as I said, while I adore and I like these meetings, the branches need to be organized. I come from a background where as I told you, yes, I'm trained in many areas, but the fact remains is that the branches need to be organized. If the branches are not organized, you can spend time in mud. We are not going to get anywhere. The branches need, I don't know what you and your General Secretary, and I could call two of you, I voted for two of you all last election, so I have a right to speak if I choose to or not to. I voted for two of you all. In fact, I voted for maybe somebody else at the head table, two people at the head table. So I'm saying that the branches need to be functional. We need to have some revenue generating capacity. I remember in the 70s up to the 80s, we used to have a big fete, All Year's Night fete at the auditorium. And that was a good generating thing. I don't know what has become of that. I know in St. Lucie, we used to have our own fundraising activity. This is why we need to be, we cannot win an election on goodwill. You understand? The first election we lost because we deserved to lose it. The next election was what we call a by-election. You could, I am not good in language, my English is poor. Some people call it a general election, I call it a by-election. We lost the by-election. My English is not good, I think this next election, we need to have the resources to fight. It's not necessarily talking about setting down the perimeters of a clean campaign. In war, there's something called collateral damage. You understand? You don't allow somebody you're fighting against to determine how you are going to fight. And this is why I'm realized, even if you listen to calling programs, people from the other side are determining the narrative of the DLP. Which is strange. Yes, my enemy is my friend. But at the same time, no party can determine how the next party run their campaign. And this is something that we need to be saying. And this is the problem. We have a lot of weak people in our organization who are allowing themselves to be swayed by what the other people are selling. We should not be buying none that they're selling. We have to develop a strategy and move forward. And this is what concerns me. Yes, I keep saying that the president, people are bowling long hops and balls and short balls down the leg side. And the president is actually playing forward and playing the back on the bowler. The time has come when short balls and bad balls should be dispatched to the boundary. You understand? We cannot continue to play the game. I work in the Ministry of Agriculture for a considerable amount of time. I've worked with some ministers, at least one minister who have peeved me in the worst way, have said they will do what they have to do and then manage the outfall. And this is what's happening, you know. That's why somebody got $25 million overrun and think nothing about it, because that's what they have said. They have said they will do what they have to do and they will manage the outrun. So we must be careful and we must start getting, I won't say militant, but we must start being activists. We need to get up there and let people know the urgency of the situation. Or not, we are going to end up not necessarily, I don't feel it will be necessary love. St. Lucia's seat is a seat not to be won. St. Lucia's seat is a seat to be lost. Because we don't have a representative. You understand? The only thing I've heard Peter Phillips spoke about is cuscus grass. Nothing else. Nothing else. And I'm like a heart attack, Mr. President. I'm like a heart attack. Unfortunately, he lives on Neath Hill from me, and I can say he lives there, and I will before I am taken to court, I will insist he lives on Neath Hill from me. I will insist he lives there. I don't want to be there in court for saying anything else. So, and I would not accuse him. I didn't go too far in school, but I know that he's full of nothingness. And this time we need to expose all of them. And before I sit, I want to bring to the head table attention. I was interviewed 3 weeks ago. I know nothing about questionnaire design, but what I can tell you, that questionnaire was badly designed. I asked who was thing, and they told me that it was the cadre. And the questionnaire, again, I'm not too bright, but I could tell you from what I gleaned from the questions I was saying, they were looking at the competence level of the sitting ministers, and the last 1, 2, 3, 4 questions on that questionnaire centered on leadership. I don't know I don't know if the questionnaire or survey was being conducted by a political party or not. Neither do I care. The fact remains that is sufficient information for me to start getting our house in order. Because if you are looking at the core competencies of a whole bunch of, one thing everybody said about Tom Adams, he was a genius. He was able to get some unemployable people and put them in parliament. You understand? And what I'm saying now, I can speak on this collection because I work at these trade ministers. In fact, there's one that they call him, there's one, for want of a better word, he's called underwear. And the Ministry of Agriculture is called underwear. The next two, one is called a black boy. And there's one that I will keep quiet for the time being. But we need to start doing our research. We have quite a few people in this constituency that I'm sure of. And I suspect the wider part that have quite a bit of expertise. Not me, I don't have any expertise. I am just a retired disgruntled person who is speaking on my reality, not nobody's reality. I'm not expert at anything. So I do encourage you from that survey. If you want to find me, I have been living in the same place for 64 odd years. I haven't moved from the same footprint. Same footprint in graveyard. Not St. Clement's graveyard, graveyard up the hill. So if you want any more information on that survey, you know where to find me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that very thorough contribution.
Okay, so while you speak, address some of what was said between, what is 8 o'clock? Is after 8 right now?
Well, in terms of the things that were said, I think we addressed most of them in the original presentation. The issue of property tax has come up, and I think the way to deal with property tax is to lower the property tax and create separate bandwidths, accessible bandwidths, and to deal with pensioners is to stop the double taxation or reduce it so that they would have more money to do the things that they would need to do.
Okay. I think we have to take a donation for St. Lucie, for the St. Lucie branch. So I see the lead, Morgan is going to do that for us. And we have to give the vote of thanks. That's going to be given by Gary as well. So just telling everybody everything that's happening. So in the last 5 minutes, we could wrap up. I don't even have my purse on me.
Madam Chair, just permit me 1 second to do something very special for an exceptional young lady in our midst. She's a very hardworking individual. She's the secretary of our branch, and she's going to be 71 years old on Thursday. Stand and take a bow. The treasurer, but she's very hardworking. She was around from the days of the oven. That was the place in St. Lucie where the branch was located. She was around from where we held dances there for fundraising, and she was one of the last to leave. She would leave at 6 o'clock. This lady here in the yellow. Oh, Maureen gonna be 71. Oh, good. Where Maureen is? Where's she going? Right, the young lady down there with the pretty dress. Let's give her a round of applause, please.
Okay, we've had quite a long session tonight, and I really want to thank everybody who joined us. I'll invite Mr. Gary Graham to come to the mic and give the vote of thanks.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Did you have a good evening? Are you more enlightened? Of course we are. And we want to say a big thank you to the entire panel for the job that you did this afternoon. Indeed, we were enlightened. The speeches were erudite. They were clear. We all understood. We want to say a big thank you. So let's give them a round of applause. We want to say thank you to you, Madam Chair. You did a wonderful job. So let's give her a round of applause also. We want to say thank you to the young gentleman who did the streaming this evening, so we want to say thank you to you also. And then on the behalf of the branches of St. Lucie and St. Andrew, we want to thank you for coming out this evening. You know that you came to the best part in St. Lucie. The ear down here is the best. The ambience is the best. Everything in St. Lucie is the best. So you had a good evening. So just give yourself a round of applause. And let's say thank you. So as we close this evening, we just want to do what we didn't do at the start. We want to offer a word of prayer. So I'm going to call the secretary of the branch, and she will offer a word of prayer at this time as we close. Let's stand.
Let's bow our heads and close our eyes. Be thou our guardian and our guide, and hear us when we call. Gracious God and our Father, we want to thank you for what we have heard here this afternoon. We thank you, Lord, for the persons that journey from wherever in this part of the island to come and to give us this meeting. We ask you, dear God, that you would take them back in peace and in safety. I ask you, dear God, that you will look down upon these two branches, the St. Lucie branch and the St. Andrew branch. Lord, I ask that you will strengthen us as we go forward to take our precious country from this uncaring government. I ask you, dear God, that you would give the president the wisdom and the understanding as he go forward from day to day, that he would continue lifting up this great party, the Democratic Labour Party. I ask you, Lord, that you would be with each and every one of us. Bless us individually and collectively. And Lord, I'm also asking you this evening that you would bless the refreshments that have been prepared. You would bless the hands that have prepared them. And Lord, if it be your will, help that we would come here again to hear another interesting discussion about the way forward for our great party. These mercies I ask in no other name but thine with thanksgiving. Amen.